And Closer Look continues from WABE in Atlanta. I'm Rose Scott. It's a trend, and the numbers truly tell a story.
Well, the impact of job loss is being felt nationwide, especially among black women in the labor force.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 300,000 black women have left their jobs over the past 3 months, and experts are calling it a silent crisis.
They feel like this is another moment where black women have gotten the short end of the stick. And just to look at some numbers, the national unemployment rate right now is 4.2%. For black women, it's 6.3%.
This is happening because of cuts to public sector positions in organizations such as the Department of Education and HHS. You're not just trimming the fat, you're actually cutting the economic backbone for black women.
And the numbers truly do tell a story. Black women's unemployment rate is escalating. Beginning in March now, it was 5.1%. In April, it was 6.1%. It was 6.2% in May, and then 5.8% in June. Now, there are a lot of theories as to why this is happening. Talked about budget cuts, federal jobs termination, the elimination of DEI programs, and targeted layoffs. Now, today on this special edition of Closer Look, we'll examine all of this and speak to local black women impacted by job loss, as well as discuss what support is available. Joining me now as we begin the conversation from Emory University, Dr. Pearl Dow, the Asia Griggs Candler Professor of Political Science and African American Studies, also the author of The Radical Imagination of Black Women, Ambition, Politics, and Power. Also in the conversation, Amber Cabral, an experienced DEI consultant who'll share her story in just a moment. Thank you both for taking the time and helping kickstart today's special Closer Look. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Professor, let me start with you. Let's just begin with your overall thoughts on this startling job loss trend nationwide for black women. You heard what we played coming into the segment. What's striking you in this moment?
Well, it's not really surprising when we look at the trends historically of unemployment rates across the country and how black people, and particularly black women, have been impacted, particularly since February, where we saw significant effort to minimize the employment levels at the federal government level. Black women are disproportionately positioned within the public sector, particularly within the federal government, and particularly also with agencies such as Department of Education, Health and Human Services, and also USAID. Mm-hmm. And then also black women are also situated in public sector positions within healthcare and in service industries. And so with the drastic effort to minimize or decrease public sector employees, it's quite natural that black women would be impacted. But also, what we also have to remember is that typically black women tend to stay unemployed longer. And so while we see black women being impacted by these cuts, employment cuts, we also know that the data tells us that the economy is slowing down. So there are less options available as quickly for black women who have largely been employed in these sectors.
Amber, what about you? What do you make of this moment?
Yeah, I was nodding my head as I was listening because I've had, a lot of the same stories to go along with the data that you just covered. I know a number of people who have been impacted. I know a number of people who have been impacted that are black women that have been impacted for a longer period of time. And so the issue has definitely been not only have I lost employment, but I'm having a harder time getting an opportunity to get back into the workforce. And so I think that story actually means that while we're talking about just the last 3 months, you're dealing with something that's been going on since last year. And now it's just compounding to the level that it's become, a bit more of a major conversation.
Let me ask you this, Amber, because this is something that relates a message I just got from a listener who says, when black women are unemployed, black children and communities suffer. So, Amber, is this nationwide job loss that we're seeing, this should be viewed as a crisis?
Absolutely. I think we underestimate that black women are nurturers. We're taking care of our families, our communities, our parents. You know, when you think about that sandwich generation where you have kids in the home and then a parent in the home, you know, you're seeing a lot of Black women playing that role. And when you take away employment opportunity, you're not just impacting that one woman, you're impacting everyone that she is supporting. And so we have data that even says that, you know, Black women tend to be in the position where they are supporting more than just themselves and are often responsible for changing the direction of, you know, the trajectory of how people are earning in their family. Mm-hmm. And so when I, as a Black woman, start not making income, I'm not just impacting me, I'm impacting where we can go as a family as well.
And Professor, so you agree this nationwide job loss should be viewed as a crisis?
Oh, absolutely. Because Black women, to Amber's point, historically, Black women income has contributed heavily to their household. So we know that Black women have a higher percentage in comparison to counterparts as being head of household. Mm-hmm. Also, many Black women find themselves as far as a sandwich generation, in which they're providing and taking care of children, but also taking care of elders in their families. And so that income is significantly important. We also know that Black women are heavily engaged within their communities. And so any resources that they have left over, we know it often is going towards religious organizations through tithes and offerings, community organizations through dues and memberships. So there's a cyclical relationship of the community supports and apparatus that Black women are driving. And so when that employment is lost, those other entities are also impacted, including what happens with their children.
I want to take a deeper dive into a specific sector, and that involves jobs tied to DEI. And Amber, you've worked as a DEI consultant. So briefly for our listeners, you know, prior to, let's go back maybe 2 years ago. How was the industry in terms of jobs and folks being able to find consistent work?
Yeah, abundant. To put it very
That's a good word, abundant. Then I'm going to ask you for another word.
Exactly. Yeah, it was abundant. I mean, almost overwhelmingly so. Like, you know, I always let folks know that, like, we hit a moment where, you know, the focus was absolutely on equity, diversity, equity, inclusion work, a constant conversation. And to a degree, we all know that some of that was performative and it wasn't going to last forever. Mm-hmm. But, you know, at that moment, it was, you know, incredibly abundant. And the hope was that, you know, even when what we expected to be kind of a natural waning would take place, that there would still be a significant amount of support and care in that space. That is not the case today.
So briefly, what kind of work were you doing? Consulting, helping businesses with maybe initiatives, things of that nature? They were asking you to come in, hey, do an assessment of us because we want to be better.
Right. So I'm a coach, a consultant, a strategist. I do facilitation. So what I usually will do is go into an organization and initially assess and figure out, okay, what are your objectives as it relates to your culture? And, you know, how do you want diversity, equity, and inclusion to come to life? And then we build a plan to help bring that to life. Those requests are not only fewer in number, but the requests when they do come are a lot smaller. So instead of us having a project, we may just do one or two.
Are they using the letters DEI, or are they coming with a different narrative?
Yeah? It really just depends. If it's an organization that is very visible, which I worked with a lot of Fortune ranked organizations, the language is shifting. You know, we're moving away from DEI or diversity and inclusion to more inclusion and belonging. And so the language is absolutely changing, and people are honestly just making that call based on what, you know, the atmosphere in their particular area or organization feels like. So it's no rules, but it is a lot of change.
So it sounds like you still might get some calls,
I do.
But it's not as abundant as it was before.
Nowhere near as abundant. Definitely the slowest I've ever experienced in business. I've been in business doing this particular work for 20 years, but for myself for the last 9. And I've never seen a slowdown like this. I've also never gotten requests that were like, how can we talk about this thing without saying these words? And that's absolutely a part of the conversation that's happening now.
Professor, what do you make of what Amber is saying now in terms of just even the messaging and what some companies might be looking to do without using the words diversity, equity, and inclusion?
So, you know, one of the things that's concerning, I think about this moment is also what were these companies doing when diversity, equity, inclusion were the words that were acceptable? Because true diversity, equity, inclusion work is for it to be embedded into the culture and the actions So it's not just a word in a training we pull out once a year, but really what is happening as far as how companies are engaging with employees and how are they assessing outcomes of policies. That is the true work, right? And so I think now when we start using the word belonging, which is a good word, but are we still going to have the level of accountability that was expected when we were talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion? So that's where the questions that I have about where we are, because there are still considered to be core values, but are the actual practices still going to be in place moving forward? And
to that, I want to talk about some other drivers that may be at play here, because we've also been reading about, for example, the ending of flexible work arrangements that some companies had, small and large, some return to office mandates. And then, of course, that leads to, for so many, what does the child care support look like?
Correct. So I think when we think about diversity, equity, and inclusion work, to the doctor's point, I think we have to understand that it's about how it's embedded. And so it does include things like flexible work, hybrid, access to work, thinking about how we can accommodate people's lives around the work that they're doing, even though we often tend to think it's only the identity stuff, what my race, age, background, et cetera. It is also that work experience stuff. And so with the rollbacks that you're seeing where it's nope, return to office, we're reducing flexibility, no more remote work, you've got to be in 5 days a week. All of those things are equity matters. And so that stuff happening is an indication that you do see people pulling back from the work as well.
And so it may not be that a company is laying someone off or it's DEI initiatives are no longer there, but it's everything tied to those other factors that you talked about. For a lot of Black women who said, I have to leave the industry or maybe have to try to find something that supports me with my current household structure. Professor?
Oh, absolutely. Particularly with returning back to work. Schools here in Atlanta began school very early in comparison to many of our counterparts across the country. And at the same time, many people are going back to work. So what does that mean for your work day? Are you able to get off work early enough? If you work in Southwest Atlanta, but you live in Northwest and your kids, you have to travel across to make sure you're home or somebody else is home when your child gets home if they're taking a bus. All of those things impact the overall quality of life for a woman. But it also impacts the culture within the work, because if you're concerned about your child being home safely, you're not going to be focused on what's happening in that meeting at 3:00 in the afternoon. So it impacts not only the person, but also impacts the bottom line, which is what diversity, equity, and inclusion work is about, right? That it's not just only about the individual, which is a big part of this, but it's also about the overall culture and the productivity, because there's much data that says that when we have these type of programs and these values that are lived out, that productivity is better, the overall climate, and also we also retain people more and easier. And so to that point, I do think that a lot of women have now found themselves or will find themselves in challenging positions when it comes to the fact that now I have to be someplace and there may not be a lot of opportunities for there to be flexibility, or even conversations about flexibility.
Also,
go ahead.
I just wanted to mention also, we complain about Atlanta traffic. I mean, seriously, hybrid work helps with, Atlanta traffic. It does make a difference when you have the ability to make a decision about when you're going to get on the road. And so, or if you have to get on the road. And so, for those of us who, live in major cities that are navigating that, your equity, diversity, equity, inclusion, that work also shapes that too.
Abolition says, Rose, you can't also overlook the fact that these cuts to programs like Head Start and some of the alleged tax credits for middle class and lower income earners, this further compounds a lot of pressures for Black women. You agree with that, Amber?
Absolutely. I think that's the trick with the words. I even wonder the people who are on board with the idea of us scaling back or the idea of DEI going away or whatever, position that might look like. I think that what I see the most often is that people don't have a full understanding of how much it touches. They think it might just be something that feels very unique to each individual. And what it's really doing is impacting the experience that people are having on a day-to-day basis in their own bodies, as well as in their communities, in their workplaces, and, where they shop, live, and play. And
so, Professor, before we go to break, because if we indeed continue to see this increase in the unemployment rate for Black women, the potential impacts, it goes beyond the nation's economy. But what do you want folks to really think about this crisis that we're in for Black women and job loss?
Well, I think it impacts so many things. It impacts our health. If you don't have a job, healthcare is tied to employment. And then with the pending cuts that we know that's coming forward, with the social safety net, the likelihood that people will be able to access unemployment benefits, Medicaid, Medicare for themselves or their family members is going to decline. And so I think we're going to see an increase rate of potentially people who are unhoused or possibly, potentially being unhoused, as well as just overall quality of life, the ability to sustain oneself, one's children. We're just going to see this, I think, overall drastic decline in the quality of life of Black people, and people who are really living check to check. Mm-hmm. And basically living on the margins. We're going to see a drastic increase.
There's more closer look. Stay with us. From Emory University, I'm in conversation with Dr. Pearl Dow, the Asa Griggs Candler Professor of Political Science and African American Studies, and also the author of The Radical Imagination of Black Women, Ambition, Politics, and Power. And joining me in studio is Amber Cabral, an experienced DEI consultant. There's more. Stay with us. We're back in a moment. And Closer Look continues from WABE in Atlanta. I'm Rose Scott on this special programming as we take a look at the recent startling trend in job loss among Black women in this nation. Now, I'm already in conversation from Emory University with Dr. Pearl Dow, and also joining me in the studio is Amber Cabral, an experienced DEI consultant who's been sharing her story. And before we bring in our next guest, and I think you and the press are going to stay with us, you have taken a very proactive, you're doing okay, you're saying?
Yeah.
But you've also created a layoff guide.
Yes. So one of the things that I believe in doing from an equity standpoint is providing resources. So if you are a person who's been impacted by layoff or concerned about layoff, I created a layoff guide, and you can access that at ambercabral.com. The purpose is to give you some direction. I've been laid off. I've quit. I've, had the experience of being jobless in one way, shape, or form. And so what I wanted to do in this moment, knowing that it's, such a consistent conversation, is create something that I wish I had when that happened to me. Mm-hmm. So you have some things to kind of go from besides just the big emotion that comes with an unexpected job change.
How have you been handling this mentally?
Yeah.
We're going to talk more about that in a moment, too.
Yeah. So the mental piece is a big thing, and that's also included in this guide. The thing that I encourage people to remember is that work is a part of your life. It is not your life. And so you get to make some really good decisions about how you want to take care of yourself, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything bad about you because you are experiencing job loss. I think the instinct is to beat yourself up, and that really doesn't serve, any of us, from you looking for the job, building connections to try to get connected to opportunity. Like, that energy just doesn't help. And so I try to encourage folks to remember all the fantastic and wonderful things that exist about you, mm-hmm. and talk about those with, some degree of confidence and fervor, and not define yourself just by the job title that you're no longer tethered to.
And if you just joined us, folks, here are some numbers to consider. While the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports a July unemployment rate was about 4.2%, but that number rose to 6.3% for Black women, the highest it's been since 2021 of October. And now, to join us in this conversation, I'm joined by Alicia Thompson and Alicia Smith, and a guest who will be referred to as Sandy, plus Sherry Sims, the founder of Black Career Women's Network. Welcome to you all. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Let's just go around the virtual room for a moment. And Alicia, I'll start with you. You get the same question I asked the other guest. What are you making of this moment as we see this trend, these numbers that are coming in as relates to Black women and job loss in this nation?
It's frightening, but not unexpected, right? I've been laid off 3 times in my career, and this is the most recent one. And it doesn't shock me anymore. Unfortunately, with the dismantling of DEI and the federal job cuts, I knew it was just a matter of time before Black women specifically were impacted, because we hold those spaces for sure.
Alicia, what about you?
Hi, Alicia.
Alicia, I'm sorry.
No problem. What I'm making of this time is one, that it began last year. This has been certainly a slow burn, of course, now at a fever pitch. And I think when we, zoom out to look at it, we have to look at it both ways. One, I think Black women deserve rest and the opportunity to take a break, but we also deserve the opportunities to re-enter the workforce, on our own terms. And so that's what I'm reconciling in this moment, and, taking the opportunity to kind of guide my career in an intentional way.
Sandy, what about you? What do you make of this moment?
So my official last day will be August 31st. So I have been essentially unemployed, while still being on payroll, but it's getting really real for me now. Many people have said I've been handling it very well, because like many others, this is not the first time that I've been laid off. I have quit before. So while this is familiar space, it does feel a little bit different, right? There's so much uncertainty going on, with the economy, with politics, that I do get a little bit nervous. But like Alicia, I'm using this time to be very intentional. I am going to take probably a short sabbatical, probably not too long, to help myself redefine joy and redefine success. I feel like I've done everything I was supposed to do. I have degrees from great universities, top 5, but yet and still I find myself unemployed and with massive student loan debt, right? So how do I redefine what success is for me and make the most out of this time?
I want to talk about redefining joy in just a moment, but I want to bring Sherry Sims in, who's the founder of the Black Career Women's Network. Sherry, what are you making of this moment?
Yeah, I think that what everyone said actually is definitely correct. And but I also look at it as an opportunity for Black women to redefine who they are and what success is, like Sandy said, and also look at an opportunity to recalibrate those skill sets you have and see how can I use those in a different way, and possibly even pivot to another career or another opportunity to take the skill sets and talent you have and find joy in another way.
Sherry, let me stay with you, because then we'll go back around the room here. When you talk about pivot and shifting, and I just got an email from someone who says, Rose, pivoting is not easy.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pivoting takes inner work. It takes doing an audit of who you are, maybe even some skill sets and talents and gifts that you have put on the back burner that maybe you want to rediscover. So it does take courage. It does take vision and an opportunity to change the trajectory of where you are now and take control of where you want to go, which means we're no longer leaving our destiny in the hands of these employers that we're working for, but how can we take control in a different way? I always say that we should always continue to be marketable, which can also help our income potential. But we can't do that if we don't understand how to pivot with the skills and gifts and talents that we have and be open to using those in a different way.
A listener says, Rose, AI is also a big impact in all of this as well. How can Black women compete in those jobs, some of those traditional jobs that have been with Black women, but now due to AI, they're being phased out? Anyone want to speak to that?
I would love to chime in on AI. The thing I think we have to keep in mind with AI is that it's not better than you. It just is faster than you. So if you can think about the ways that AI is accessible to you now, you would really be doing yourself a service to understand how it works, how people are talking about it, but also pay attention to how it doesn't work, because it cannot take the jobs that people think it can. There have been enough examples at this point.
But they're also using AI in terms of
filtering,
hiring folks, right, and filtering folks.
Exactly. So that's why I think it's important that we pay attention to how it's being used so that we know how to adjust to accommodate for that.
Alisa, what do you want to add to this whole AI conversation in terms of could this be a factor in why we're seeing this tremendous job loss for Black women?
Yeah, so I think companies are relying heavily on AI, and they assume, oddly enough, that AI is objective. We all know it's not. Neutrality is impossible when the system is built on biased inputs and by teams lacking diverse perspectives. So the way they're using AI and AI models learn is from historical hiring data, which we know has already been negative slanted towards Black women. Along the way, you've got resume scanners that also look for specific keywords that align with traditionally male, white-dominated career trajectories, which again puts us on the back burner. And so it is, I see the benefits of AI for sure, but for Black women, it's truly, I think, important that we understand, to your point, exactly how it operates, exactly how it is trained, and try to navigate around that.
Alicia, what do you want to add to that?
I could not agree more. And I also realize that some of the things that we have to do is adjust our resumes to fit what these ATS systems are scanning for. You may have to decrease the number of years of experience that you've had because ageism is real. Something that we know for sure in this moment is that senior level Black women are the most impacted at this point. And so how do you adjust for that? How do you, navigate those moments? How can you continue the trajectory of your career? Because there's not enough opportunities to match the demand of this moment in terms of senior level, roles. And so you've got to understand how AI works. You also have to learn how to use it for yourself. How can it help you? How can you incorporate it into your strategic skills that you're marketing?
Sandy, are you having to do that? Will you do that?
So I actually applied to a few roles last week thinking that leveraging these tools would make it a little bit easier. But when I tell you I went down a rabbit hole and I was probably spent 2 hours updating my resume for 2 different roles just because I want to be so intentional about making sure it has those keywords, making sure I'm highlighting one aspect of my career, which fortunately and unfortunately hasn't all been in one space. So, you have to highlight certain skills for one role, highlight different skills for another. It takes a lot of time, and it quite frankly, is a full-time role in itself.
Yeah, looking for a job it's hard work looking for a job, right? Professor, you've been hearing some of these personal stories here. In the first segment, we talked about this being a crisis moment, but are you optimistic that perhaps some businesses will lean into, even if they're not supposed to technically say we encourage? Remember how I used to say we strongly encourage women and minorities and those who are differently able? Remember we used to see that a lot? I guess we ain't gonna see that no more, huh, Professor?
No, I think one of the things that is encouraging is that Black women are highly skilled workers. When we talk about Black women being in the public sector, that term public sector sometimes people have a connotation that it means that these are people who are not skilled, but Black women in the positions that they held, particularly within the federal government or within the diversity, equity, inclusion space, they were the policy wonks. They are the budget folks, the number crunchers. They have strong skills. And so to Sandy's point, being able to understand this new dynamic with the AI world, how do we now take those skills and put them in a resume that can allow them to move into the interview? So that's the barrier, getting the interview. But I think what's also going to happen is that this economic cycle that we're in, we're going to see a shift in American capitalism. We're going to see a shift in what does it mean to be a skilled worker. And while those positions become highly competitive, the work that Black women have done makes them competitive. And so I think we're still going to have to navigate what we've always navigated with people perceiving us to be a certain way. But Black women are bringing skills that are necessary and still needed. AI cannot do everything. And so I think once we can reshift how we talk about the jobs that we are leaving or were forced out of, that is the first barrier, because these are highly skilled, highly talented women who have very unique skill sets that are still needed, but they will be needed in different sectors.
Somebody else wanted to
prepare to step into something new.
Thank you, Professor. I believe somebody wanted to add something.
I wanted to add something to that, Pearl. I could not agree more. I think one of the things that we know for sure is that, particularly at senior levels, Black women are typically hired at inflection points for organizations. We're hired to shift culture. We're hired to make things better. Those are the skill sets that AI cannot reproduce and cannot replace.
No, not at all.
And I will say too, from a strategic standpoint, they often aren't directly linked to the bottom line or to revenue generation, but they absolutely impact it. And so I think it's part of this pivoting, part of this clarity is figuring out how you tie those things together so that you have a more marketable position, as you search, because we absolutely impact the economy, we impact business, we impact culture in ways that are just, incredible.
As we move into this next area, the topic of discussion, because this listener hits it, rose even the cost of getting gas and lunch and us to fuel their economy. It's a lot. It's a burden.
Yeah, I just want to add one thing too that we kind of haven't touched on yet that also connects even with what the listener just said. We are communal people. And I think now is a time for us to think very critically about how we activate that community. Like, how are we leveraging our networks? How are we partnering better? How are we communicating with each other? Because I don't think that finding jobs in this season is going to just be an automatic process. I think we have to be connected and in community to even get the opportunities we deserve.
Sherry, well, they're all shaking their heads, but Sherry, I want you to chime in on that because this is part of what you're doing. You're the founder of Black Career Women's Network.
It is about connecting, it's about networking, and it's about looking at who is in your circle of influence that can help you to find the next opportunity. A lot of roles are found that way. Currently, it's probably been in this cycle of finding opportunities through networking for probably the last decade or so. More prevalent probably in the last 5 years, I would say. And so you do have to take an inventory of who is in your network currently that you can connect to. So if you are not part of your industry associations, you should be connecting and going to those events. Also looking at who are your current, previous sponsors, mentors, who have you been connected to in the past, reconnect with those individuals, get the word out about your skill sets, what you're doing, what you're specifically looking for, or have coffee chats and find out specifically what they're doing, what they're up to, and how you can be connected. And then find someone, I always say find an individual who could be either someone who's in the role you're looking for, in leadership, or even a coach, because you want someone who can give you a perspective on the outside looking in to provide insight as to what you probably still need to work on or develop, or what you currently have and how you can remarket those skill sets for a new role.
And I just want to say something that Robin Roberts said to me back in 1998. She said, Rose, there are a lot of people who can help you, but the key is to surround yourself with people who are willing to help you. That's big. So that's what I'm all for. Send me your emails if you didn't think I was supposed to say something. But I want to start with Sandy for a moment with this next part, because mental health and balancing all of this, and y'all can be as transparent as you want. Are you doing it correctly? Do you need some help? Is it a disaster for you? How are you getting through all of this? Sandy, I'll start with you.
So I'm very lucky in that my employer had a pretty good EAP program that I leveraged, and I found a magnificent Black female therapist. Now, did I use all of my year sessions in the first 6 months? Yes. But that's something that, I'm definitely going to continue. And I know that I need to, because as much as I've been through this before, I haven't been through this before in this way at this time in my life, right? Previously, I was single. Now I'm married. And my husband is an entrepreneur. So there's additional pressure, when I was the steady breadwinner, or the income bringer inner that I no longer, that we no longer have. But thankfully, I will continue my therapy sessions and work through those things. And thankfully, we've been smart financially recently. We've been privileged to be. So, it's not like everything is going to, fall through the cracks tomorrow, but we definitely have to be more focused.
Okay. And Alicia, how are you getting through this?
So first of all, I will say that transparently, I knew that I needed a break. So, my layoff came at a time when I needed it, and burnout was real. I needed the opportunity to kind of assess what was most important to me, how sustainable, is the way that I carry my work, and looking, to be able to redefine myself beyond, what work has meant for me. And that took some time. I'll be very honest. And like Sandy, I had good insurance, thankfully to my, previous employer. And thanks to, having a long-standing relationship with a therapist, was able to work through some of those things. And so there is absolutely no way that I could get through this without therapy and also faith.
I hear that.
I just want to tap in and add a couple things that I think are important when we're talking about mental health, because everyone doesn't necessarily have access to therapy, and everyone doesn't necessarily have access to traditional modalities. There are other things, like you can find, meditations online for free. You can go for walks and get the endorphins and the good, chemicals that you need in your brain going. Like, I want us to think about wellness as something that's holistic and not something that's separate from the way that we live our lives, including at work. Because what's happening, we're hearing a lot about burnout for a reason. And it's because we think of being well as something that cannot happen when we are working. And I think as we're considering what a pivot looks like and what going forward work future look like, we have to be very thoughtful about how we also include wellness in that process.
Ms. Thompson, as it relates to mental wealth, mental health, wellness, and all of this?
It all comes full circle for me. I honestly saw my layoff as a gift. I was released. I had spent years navigating spaces where I wasn't treated well. And so I had already decided last January that I was leaving. I had started a program to pivot my career from 30 years of corporate into executive coaching. I had already started the route. So when they told me in November that I was going to be released on January 3rd, I was like, praise the Lord and thank you.
You had your box ready.
I had my box ready, and I just moved on and transitioned into my new life. One of my favorite quotes is, go where your heart wants to be, where it feels happy and healthy, not heavy and hurt. And I leaned into that for this pivot and for navigating the new world order, but also reaching back and helping those that did not have the opportunity to navigate it as seamlessly as I did.
Sherry, let's talk about this.
Yeah, no, I love what she said, because I think about the coaching sessions that we have with clients, and we always make sure that we're incorporating what does your mental health plan look like as well. Are you resting? Are you eating right? Are you exercising? As Amber said, are you accessing some of those resources? We all have a phone. We can download an app. We can listen to a podcast, whatever is going to help to balance it out for you and prioritize your mental health. And that plan is important. Just like we plan for everything else, plan for rest, plan for clarity, plan for to energize yourself.
And it helps to listen to Nina Simone. I'll tell you that right now. Professor, what do you want to add about the mental health piece here?
Well, it's very important. And as someone who years ago went through a long unemployment period and pivoted, it is a challenge because so much of our culture says you have to do to be worthy. Yep. And so it is hard to shift. So it's also a shifting of your perspective. So I like Alicia's point about she knew what she needed to do. So while we are employed, really investing in understanding that this is what we do, this is not who we are. And so if and when it changes, we still are who we are, and we can, tap into the resources to continue to support. But that fundamental understanding that this is what I do. This is what I do.
Oh, I appreciate it. I want to thank from Emory University, Dr. Pearl Dow, the Asa Griggs Candler Professor of Political Science and African American Studies. Also in the conversation, Amber Cabral. Also want to thank Sandy. Also want to thank Alicia, and also want to thank Elisa. Boy, y'all in these names. And then Sherry Sams, the founder of Black Career Women's Network.
The privileged black male, Gus T. Renegade, in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the global system of white supremacy. Today's date, Thursday, August 28, 2025. Emmett Till. See if I can get my math accurate. So it would be 70 years to the day, the lynching of Emmett Louis Till, privileged black male, Money, Mississippi. It happening on August 28, 1955 is why, I guess I could say a lot of things on that, like, whew, that event motivated, inspired, triggered lots of things. Rosa Parks later that year, and what I was originally thinking is August 28, 1963, farce on Washington. That's not what I meant to say. March on Washington. Dr. MLK, privileged black males wouldn't let Rosa Parks or any other black females, talk. They did let Mahalia Jackson sing a tune. But the reason those privileged, misogynistic, sexist black males like Dr. King, the reason John Lewis, the late, the reason they picked August 28 to descend on Washington, D.C., federal troops were probably there then, too. You know, J. Edgar Hoover, the federal troops, we are waiting for you niggers to act wild. Get sexist if you want to. But the reason they picked that date is because Emmett Louis Till murdered Money, Mississippi, August 28, 1955. 70 years later, we have made no progress. I dare you to go to Mississippi and get sassy with a white woman and see what happens. Got the goons. Matter of fact, the goon squad. I double dare you to go to Mississippi, get sassy with a white woman if you want to. Put you in the shower with a dildo in your mouth and chocolate sauce. The goon squad. Anyway, neutralizing workplace racism, not for spectators. If you have figured out you are not with your box of belongings, an unemployed black female, that's not you. Nor do I have concerns, biting my nails and anxious and updating my resume and I am a valued employee. I'm compensated correctly. I'm properly trained. I don't sit around and fret. Am I gonna be employed? I go in and do great work, and I think I'm going to be here until I get ready to retire. If you have figured out how to get to that glorious position on the plantation, let us know. Put us on speed dial. The number 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The number again, 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email, untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. If you don't want to be identified, keep your anonymity. You can write in if you have questions and or suggestions, especially suggestions. Let us know. You can't. That is not an excuse. If you got to that comfortable position and they don't mistreat you on the job, you get all your raises, all of your performance reviews are, wow, Lakeisha is the best employee ever. Wish we had 50 of her here. Oh my God, professional, punctual, competent, always asking for training. One of our greatest assets. That's the way that they talk about you. Man, don't you spectate, and it can't be, well, they'll pick up my voice and then I get. You can make a fake email account and put a fake name on it, Lakeisha 2025, and then give us some tips, pointers on how best, to make it happen. And then you'll never have to use the email account again. Throw it away. Delete account. See? The audio segment that we started with, and there were always reports about the workplace and things that are going on. One thing that I will say before we get to the audio that we heard, there's lots of dialogue right now, at least in the U.S., about the shooting in Minnesota. Any of those types of events we talked about before, you are never, never, never discussing any of that in the workplace. I don't care if you work someplace, pardon, if they have TVs on, maybe the radio, computer, whatever. If they've got it so it's playing live and everybody's looking, oh my God, what? Transgender? What? Who? What? You have nothing to say. Even if you work with all people classified as black, born here in the U.S., even then, you have nothing to say. That's sad. Oh dear. You can even use Fuller. That is the max that you have to say about any of this. Even if your relatives work with you, nothing, because you can talk to them when you get home. Nothing. White person comes, wow, what do you think about old Robin? What do you think about old Robin? When shut up. Sad. I always give the easy, man, it just happened. I'm so confused, I can't even talk about it. I don't even know enough details to really say anything about it other than tragic. All you have to say, anything of that nature, don't get tricked and sucked into all of that. There's a whole lot of different things, because it's saying it might be a hate crime, and saying old Robin was flashing white supremacist symbols in the video, and oh my goodness, this act of domestic terrorism, and then an anti-Semitism, like, woo, the transgender, it'd go all over the place. So I'm sure you don't get paid to talk about it, and Robin Westman is not listed in your workplace duties, so zip it. Now, to the audio report that we did hear. That was on WABE Public Radio in Atlanta. Victim of racism, Rose Scott, employed black female. She's done a number of different reports where they talk about things in the workplace in the Atlanta area, often Georgia specifically. So she had a panel of black females on, many of them quite distinguished. Dr. Pearl Doe, Amber Cabral, Sherry Sims, founder of the Black Career Women's Network. Check it out if you need resources, I reckon. Alicia Thompson, victim. Alicia Smith, I guess they're all victims. Alicia Smith, and then Sandy. All of the last threes just says they were impacted by job loss. That's why I said victims specifically. All of them victims, though. So they gave this great panel this week, just a couple days ago, where they're going over the different ways, and they called it a crisis of unemployment for black females specifically. And they went into so much detail and such. I said, wow, this is neutralizing workplace racism. We got to talk about this, play a big hefty chunk of it, even if it means we don't get to play other reports. I will say, when I did hear this, like, wow, other than the context of white supremacy and neutralizing workplace racism, I do not often hear forums where black people are talking seriously about the workplace, problems in the workplace, racism in the workplace, and what to do about it. I certainly don't get a chance to listen to every single outlet in the known universe, but I have asked for years. Don't send me no nonsense, no BS that you watched on television. That goes for every single one of you. I think that is the most clowning, nonsense, retarded conduct in the world, all the serious problems that we have. I don't care what any of you watched on Netflix, YouTube, NBC, any streaming outlet in the universe. I never care. Workplace racism, that's something I'm passionate about. Black people being abused on the job. You heard the young lady in that report said, I worked in a corporate environment for 30 years. It was 30 years of abuse. Jesus Christ. WTA, that's what I say too about, man, young lady, please write a memoir. What was that 30 years of abuse like? Give us as much detail as you can. Racism, anti-black, give us as much detail as you can. That's what I said. I said that for a while, right? You get to retire. You work 30 years on a job. Retired firefighter, all that. Write a memoir. What was your experience in the system of white supremacy on a job where you got to retire? And then suggestions too. Everybody should include suggestions in that memoir text, whatever it is. Suggestions for victims of racism who read that book. Hey, these are things I wish I had known. Oh my God. If they had only told me when I started my career out. Whew. There you go. But you heard that from the young lady there. She was abused for 30 years. Man, it's so many black people where they say the same thing. If that is true, there should be way more resources and dialogue about racism in the workplace, things, strategies, codification. How do we counter and solve some of these problems? Replace white supremacy with justice, but things we can do on the job in the meantime and really headed in the same direction, producing justice. Not the new football season and all the brain damage we gonna give out and all that. Come on. We can do way better. Way better. Now, before I get to the brilliant work of Rose Scott and her panel of black female victims, as a privileged, misogynistic, sexist, patriarchal, raping, no-count black male, O.M. Jesus, can we get one report where black males get included? Like, I know we are all shiftless, rapists, misogynist. I just told you, Dr. King and them, didn't they blackball Rosa Parks? Isn't that us? That's our whole legacy. I got it. Yes. Shame on us all. Do black males have unemployment problems? Did black males lose jobs over the last year? I remember, in fact, I think about the only report that I can recall, and this is going back years. They did a report in New York, specifically in New York City, that COVID, lots of people were impacted, their employment and all of that. They said the one group, won't no bounce back for them. Leroy. That was New York Public Radio. That's like the only report that I can remember where it's, hey, don't black males, do they have problems in the workplace? Are people excited about hiring black dudes? Is unemployment a problem for black dudes? I've told you all for years. We just had a report on black female unemployment, and I said the same thing. That was just weeks ago. I said, dang, they couldn't include black people in total? Hey, I'd have been fine. You could have included non-white people in it. Just black females. They're victims of racism too, but I've told you all for years. When they start talking about racism in the workplace, it's always to the exclusion of black males. Now, if at this point in 2025, it's we all understand black males are shiftless, lazy, rapists, and you don't work, that should be said all the time. Like, say that explicitly. Say it at the beginning of that report. We're not saying anything about black males because you all are unemployed, shiftless, you don't work, you won't even stop to pull your pants up. Just say that. But I mean, dang, like, did no black males, they had no problems last year, they didn't lose a job, none of that. The furloughs, CDC, we didn't have no black male federal employees, none. If that is the case, then there should be reports to talk about why is that. They talked about the black female unemployment rate. Buddy, it's still lower than the black male unemployment rate. I know nobody cares. Stop raping white women and maybe you could get a job. Okay, all right, thank you. Let's get back. Rose Scott, labor crisis, black female. They didn't say black female, they said black women. I say that's important, but whatever. I say that's important really for what they talked about in this segment. Some of these victims said, hey, we did everything right. We went to school, got degrees. We didn't mess around with Leroy and get pregnant at 15. We went to school, got degrees, a doctor, Pearl Doe, I said, doctorate and everything. Spent a lot of time and money. And some of them said they got all this debt piled up. We did everything white people said, and now white people won't give us a job. Now, I didn't hear nobody say that the privileged, patriarchal Leroy is not hiring black females. I didn't hear anybody say that. So even in Atlanta, I didn't hear Tyler Perry won't give us a job. White people, usual suspects. They won't give us a job, and or they practice rape. They mistreat us on the job for the whole time we're here. Kick us off the job. We're not experienced. Get on out of here. We don't want you around. Ah. If that is true, that's what I'm saying about Mr. Fuller. Hey, system of white supremacy racism. You got males and females. The man, the woman, they do the hiring. They are classified as white. Now, getting to some of the details of what they talked about, the 300,000 black females that have left the workforce over this period of time they're talking about, and combination, I guess, with the federal layoffs, tariffs, and racism in general. But that is a massive amount of jobs lost over a short period of time. I feel remiss. I feel like I maybe need to see it a few times with this report. Man, Bay Area mom told us, black female, Bay Area mom told us, when you talk to your children about racism, which we all should be doing, when you speak with them, and even reminding yourself, system of white supremacy racism, if you are not white, you can be fired in the next 5 minutes. You don't have to do anything wrong. It's not that you showed up late. You weren't acting sexually inappropriate with colleagues. None of that. You could be the best employee there. Like, on time. Even what some of those young ladies said. We've been on time, hard working, experienced, competent. You're out of here. Get your cardboard box and beat it. That can be any of us in the next 5 minutes. And if you do not understand that, oh, buddy, and when they talked about mental health at the end of that, like, man, you really want to have your mental health devastated, lying to yourself or pretending or actually even believing, hey, I'm Lakeisha, I'm valued. No, man. System of white supremacy racism. You could be fired. You, yes, Leroy. You, yes, Lakeisha. You could be fired in the next 5 minutes. You don't have to do anything wrong. Really making fun, and it doesn't matter the job yet. You can make 30 cents. It could be an intern. You could be president of the United States. It doesn't matter. You could be fired in the next 5 minutes. Anywho, so they bring on, as I said, distinguished panel to talk about some of the dynamics, what their experience has been, I guess suggestions that they would give, all of that. When they spoke with Amber Cabral, she's the young lady, black female, founder of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusive Leadership-focused consulting firm, Cabral Corporation, C.O.W.S. She said that she got lots of, I guess, business opportunities with her so-called DEI organization. George Floyd, 5 years ago, what have you, privileged black male in Minnesota, that she got lots of opportunities. And she said, even then, I think we all understood that it was performative. Now, that would be one. I've cautioned for years, there are very few things that we all understand. I would say once you get, past, really, once you get to 1 + 1 is 2, we all do not know that that is true. So, there are very few things that we all know. And as far as we all understood that that was performative, meaning individuals who are classified as white pretending that they support justice and oppose the system of white supremacy racism when that's not true, I don't think that we all, meaning all non-white people, no, I don't think that we all understood that then, nor do we all understand that now. Slow down for sure right there. Anyway, but she said that she got lots of opportunities, Ms. Cabral, during that time period, like 2020 or so, but she said, ooh-wee, 2025, no way, get on out of here. She said now it's a whole lot less opportunities for all of that. Man, remember the black brother, cowbell, Dr. Eddie Moore Jr., soothing lotion. He's at least publicly acknowledged as the founder of the White Privilege Conference. Like, are they rolling in the dough now? Do you think white people across the U.S., are they, man, we are lined up, Dr. Eddie Moore, come on in here and tell us about that white privilege that we got. Come on, black brother. And bring your white wife, too. What? Do what? I can, one, you know who I thought of when she was, Miss Cabral, when she was talking about how she's lost out and the business is hurting now, and she said, now, if they do call, it's a lot smaller, and it's don't mention nothing about no diversity. Include. Maybe we'll say belonging. I don't even know what that means. Like, belonging? What? And then I didn't hear no mention of racism. Just don't say diversity. Woo. Anyway, but with Ms. Cabral, when she was talking about how she doesn't get the same opportunities and business really, dried up a lot since 2020, I was thinking, I wonder, is that the case for Jane Elliott? I wonder, is that the case for admitted racist Jane Elliott, admitted racist Tim Wise? I can go down a list of these white people who say, hey, we are all about equity, diversity, white privilege, Dr. Peggy McIntosh and all that. Because these folks, I've seen them on TV. They seem like they are rolling. They've been doing their thing. Are they saying the same thing? The white people that pretend they're against racism, and Jane Elliott, she's been doing this a long time. She should be on her retirement and pension money now. Anyway, they said, if you lose your job, I did think it was important. They were talking about some of the suggestions and saying, hey, don't beat yourself up. Now, I do think that is very important, unless it's some sort of situation where you just, you went in and you pilfered all of the rubber bands, or, you were going in there and trying to be sexual with all of the white ladies. Well, then, you get what you deserve, Jerome. But for most of us, trying to do the correct thing on the job, working hard, show up on time, doing the best that we can, do not beat yourself up. If you get furloughed, fired, whatever it is, do not beat yourself up. That's why I said it's so important. Even going back to the beginning, black females, victims, guaranteed, qualified. I don't argue and grouse with people about, saying don't call yourself a man or a woman. Never do that. But I do think psychologically, like, oh yeah, I'm not a woman, I'm not a man. We are boys, girls, males, females until we get this problem solved. Very important. Being truthful, at least being truthful with ourselves about that. Just my opinion, BGQ. But she said not beating yourself up, and I think that's important because, man, and we talked about this for years. Like, Pam has specific passages in her book, Black Love is a Revolutionary Act, where talking about black people that she has met, like, and put a hand on, where they get fired from a job where hey, I'm doing exactly what those young ladies said. I'm doing everything correct. I went to school. I got all my degrees and such on the wall. I show up on time. I don't bring my Leroy boyfriend to work or no craziness like that. I'm competent, trained. Hey, what's the problem? And then they end up getting fired and devastated. Like, what? And particularly because it can be, they totally blindside you where you have no idea, like how, when, what, I didn't even, what? That sort of thing. Real important to, oh yeah, system of white supremacy, racism. I can be fired at any moment. Doesn't mean I did anything wrong. What a system of white supremacy. When they switched, again, now, I didn't hear racism mentioned. If I missed it, my ears were just clogged up. I was thinking about being sexist. My bad. But I didn't hear racism. They talked about AI being part of the problem in black females not getting jobs. I heard bias in there, the programming being, the AI programming being conducted and data used to build the software in a biased manner or including biased data. I did hear that, but that's still not racism. And they said that faster is not necessarily better. I guess a smaller point, but in my opinion, I think there are a number of occasions where faster is better. Speed counts in many contexts. Anyway, they moved on to talk about the mental health component of all of this. And even before I get to that, when they were talking about AI, and they had the one young lady who had lost her job, and she was saying that she put a lot of time because they talked about the AI being used in the hiring component and maybe even the interviewing process. And she said she spent like 2 hours trying to optimize her resume because they have the keywords. You don't know, is the AI going to be reading this? I really want to be precise with my word choice, which I can applaud. But I smiled. I remembered Z's mommy. She dialed in a few weeks back because we were talking about how do you explain to someone who's a little bit older how difficult it is if you are just coming out of college, you're in your early 20s, you're just starting your work career. Some of the things that they were saying, like trying to get a job is hard work. And oh my God, trying to convey to someone who's a little bit older, someone their parents' generation or older, like, man, the job environment that you entered is not the 2025 job environment, and particularly for someone who is just starting out. And she said, this is Z's mommy, just a few weeks back, she said, man, my mind, even in that ageism, when you have people who are a little bit older, they got a few gray hairs, and they start putting that finger out there, you lazy young people and out there and won't pull your pants up and won't go get a job, and in my day, isn't that ageism too, right? Anyway, she said her mom was perhaps engaged in some of that, like, you young people are just lazy and grouse and complain. She said, man, her mom been in a good job, did what she's supposed to do, went to school, well-trained, competent, professional, brilliant. Okay, she is going to update her resume. Ooh-wee. She said, just like that young lady said, that she ended up going down that rabbit hole metaphor, and 2 hours later, she said her mom was up there, oh my Lord, what the font? Wait a minute, that's not it. Ooh. She stopped all that, like, wait a minute, I didn't know y'all had to, wow, my fault, maybe, yeah, my fault. Right. And we didn't even get to the ageism part. They started looking like, whoa, you got a few gray hairs and the racism. But anyway, then they got to, in the WABE report, they got to the mental health component of this, which I thought was very important. And they went through that. Man, I got all these degrees. I'm experienced, professional. I got all this debt. And now you tell them, like, do what? All all of that should be explained and thought about in advance. So I say we have to be honest. We cannot be lying to our children, because you can go do all of that. You can go to the Ivy League institution and all of that, and you might end up being obese, but not in the way that you think. Not obese and you become president and all that. You become obese. Let me see your birth certificate. Are you a real citizen? They be talking to you like they're ADA. Like, are you born here for real? Let me see. I don't know. We don't know if we need your kind around here. Muslim sounding name that you like. My name is Leroy. Muslim sounding name that you got. Be treated just like Obese, Negra, and he had a white parent. Death threats and all, be treated just like Obese. Matter of fact, be treated just like Obese when he got on the job on the first day, and they said, we want to see this boy fail. Didn't they say that? You be treated just like Obese. You think, dang, I went to Harvard. Dang, I'm magna cum laude. Dang, I don't flirt with the white women. What's the problem? What's going on? System of white supremacy, racism. We talked about that for years. When you do not keep in mind, that's what's at the root of all of these problems. You start doing that. It's me. Maybe I did something, man. Was I cutting my eyes at that white woman? Or I showed up late. Maybe I don't have the right clothes. My shoes look kind of better. Just start making up all this craziness. They said, they suggested, because of racism and ageism, so-called, you might have to decrease your years of experience. Has anyone heard that before? Like, why? I mean, that might be common knowledge or regular suggestion. I'm just saying I haven't heard that before. That seems so counterintuitive. Like, I wouldn't. It would be challenging for me to think, like, brain surgeon, fried chicken, vehicle repairs. I'm just trying to think. If you can think of something where fixing toilets, I would think the longer you have been doing this, unless you're, decrepit and you think you're going to retire next year or maybe die next year or whatever, as long as you are functional, you're still operational, why would that be a bad thing that presumably you should be pretty good at this, right? Unless it's one of them, you've been doing it the wrong way for 30 years. Unless we make an assessment that that's not the case. But if you are proficient and have been doing this for some time, why would that be something where now I have to lie about how proficient I am at this? System of white supremacy, racism, lying. I'm not criticizing them. I'm just saying I hadn't heard that before. Has anyone else heard that suggestion, or anyone else do that? Chop off a few years so they don't think, oh, we got some old fogey in her. We want some young person. We can pay them a little less too. Let's see. One of the young ladies, she's talking about black people now, said we are communal people. I have no idea what that means. You'd have to even explain it to me. What is a communal people? And then you sound like you're talking about black people specifically. So what is so-called communal about black people that is different from all of the non-black people in the known universe? And particularly, we're going to have to put this in the context of Atlanta. I have been to Magic City. You're going to have to tell me now, is that us demonstrating we are a communal people? Tailgating at the Atlanta Falcons game? You'd have to explain it to me. I don't know what that means in the context of a job. That would have to be explained to me, because you have a lot of that. This whole report is not about the wealth and resources that black people have amassed that allows us to do lots of hiring of other black people. Am I mistaken? I might have said that. Maybe I missed. Maybe they did say racism in that report and I just missed it. I don't think that's the case, but I could be in error. I know for darn tootin' sure they did not say, hey, we're going to tell you about all the resources and financial might of the black women of Atlanta. That's not what they said. They said we've lost about 300,000 jobs, black females. Oh my God. And you know we can't depend on worthless Leroy. Black female lost his job. Everything has gone to pot. That's what they said. That's what they said. So who, I don't even know what you're talking about. Who would we be going to talk to in terms of other black people for networking for a job? Let me flip it around this way, because I was so confused on a whole lot of things. Do we have any people here? There is a so-called black network, meaning there are other people who are classified as black. So if they're young people, anybody, some of the people in that report that we just heard from that lost their job, hey, we got the local Negro network. Let me go and talk to or email or call or smoke signal or whatever. And we will boom, 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 hook it up, job, get that resume. Whoop, whoop, whoop. You ain't got to go down that rabbit hole by yourself. We are going to help you get that resume shined, buffed, perfected. Bam. We already got a few folks that we can call right now. Got our Negro entrepreneurs and all the rest of it. Boom, 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 boom. Do we have people who have that? And then this is like for all time's sake. If you hear this in the archive, a year from now, 6 months from now, 5 years from now, untiljustice@gmail.com. Do they have that where you live anywhere in the known universe? If we have to get at Elon Musk to get on one of the Space Station X contraptions to go to another universe, solar system, let's get there. I lived in Atlanta, and I don't remember them having no Negro network where you could pick up the phone and call whomever, go down to Magic City, and oh yeah, you don't have to get a job there per se, although that might be an option, but my homie works down there. We'll hook it up for you. We'll have you working in no time. I do not remember that at all. You would have to tell me, do they have that someplace? They have that in Africa? Anywhere on the continent? Cairo to Cape Town? Do they have that someplace? Asking seriously. And asking for a friend. Let's see. And I thought Rose Scott, she said importantly that it's important with regards to the workplace and labor, important finding people who have the will and ability to help you. Very important, because I think frequently non-white people, victims of white supremacy, there will be people who have the ability to assist you. Maybe they can't solve all of your problems in the workplace. Maybe you have 5, 6 problems getting hired, whatever it is, but they could solve one. Frequently, it will be non-white people. We do not have access to people who are willing to help us. That kind of gets back to what I said about this is not about no ignorance. You got a lot of people who are dedicated to practicing racism, white supremacy. They're not willing to produce justice, which is exactly what Fuller said all the time. All the time. All the time. There was never a change on that. That was a definitive Fuller conclusion. Individuals who practice racism, white supremacy are not willing. They have the ability to produce justice. They're not willing, and that's why they don't help Negroes on the job. Anything else? Just the 30 years, I cannot say enough about that. That young lady who said she worked on her job for 30 years, and it was 30 years of mistreatment. 30 years of mistreatment. That's what I mean about you. We have to be honest. Talk to your children. If you worked on it, because it was so detailed. She said she got to the end when they were about to fire her. She didn't say, now maybe she didn't tell us all. Maybe she was really sad and, you know, what a bummer, and I invested all this time of my life and blah, 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 and hard work and accomplished this and blah, blah, blah. She said she was excited. I got my box. Let me get the heck up out of here. Now, clearly she done listed the cows, because, hey, ain't no need for that box. I ain't got no pictures on the wall, even after 30 years. I ain't got no pictures on the wall. I ain't got no plants here. I ain't got none of my awards, anything like that, plaques, platinum. It's not my office. Even after 30 years, they didn't put my name on the lease, deed, nothing else. Not my office. Anyway, but I just, like, man, you work on a job for 30 years, and it's not, oh my gosh, I'm a Miss Willie. We worked together for 17 years. You remember that time Karen came and got drunk at the Christmas party? And we took pictures of her, make sure, she didn't try and come back and say something sassy. Oh, my God. Remember that time, Willie? Karen came back, said you tried to rape her. I had to be the one, said thankful that I was still here. You were in here. We were talking about going to get popcorn. You ain't raped nobody. She making up that all the times we done been through. Or even if it's constructive. We signed that big deal, made all that money, man. Woo, paid off my car note. Remember, we took that business trip. We went to Paris. We were over there for 2 weeks, and I thought I lost my passport. You helped me find it. Like, oh my God, we gonna be cool forever. You don't have no story. Now, maybe she did, and she just didn't tell us. But man, she said it was 30 years of mistreatment. Man, what sort of mental health impact is that? You work on a job and get terrorized for 30 years? Jesus, at minimum, that's what I said. Memoir. Exactly what did you endure for 30 years? You don't have to put the people's names on it and all that, but just what was that experience? And then, like I said, suggestions. What do you wish you had known? What would you tell other people who are going into the workforce now? And then the importance for your children. Even if your children are the only people who read that book, I don't think that'd be the case for workplace, but even if your children, offspring, are the only ones, for their sake, and I think that's important, man, I would have a very different understanding and thinking about my parents if we had honest conversation. Now, this is what the workplace is like. Whew. And my expectations for the workplace, so you could be better prepared. I think we would make way better. When I say we, I mean non-white people in total. I think for generations, non-white people have not spoken honestly to our children about racism for a lot of reasons. But apparently this has gone on for a long time, and the consequence is we are so pitifully unprepared for the workplace. Like, wow, it is, man, it is super pitiful, and it's gone for a really long time. So we should really work hard to overcorrect, speak honest. Apparently we don't really talk honestly to our children about racism. And so then we don't talk honestly about the workplace, because, I mean, that's all racism all day long on the job. And again, they didn't mention racism in that chunky report at all. Again, great work by Rose Scott, but I don't think racism was mentioned at all. They said we can't even don't say DEI. We're not going to solve this problem if we can't speak honestly and accurately. Same thing that young lady said precisely about the system of white supremacy, racism. Anywhoodles, but that was WABE, Rose Scott. Labor crisis, black women's unemployment rate increasing. Maybe they'll talk about Leroy's unemployment rate next week. No. The number, do we have black female? And see, even that, it can't be just, do we have black people been laid off? It's got to be black females. Do we have victims of racism who have been laid off, who are dealing with this? Are people seeing that specifically what they said? Are you seeing where it's just black females who are losing employment? 720-716-7300, the code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The Black Communal Network as well. So do we have folks? Are you a part of like a local something of that sort? Communal network where specifically you, to whatever degree that you're able, aid black people with regards to labor. You help with polishing up a resume, finding employment opportunities, preparing for employment opportunities. Are you a part of such a network? Have you used such a network to find employment? Because I'm saying, WTH, what? I don't even know how that would work amongst people who are in such a vulnerable position, when people classified as white do the hiring, they are the community. They have the network for hiring. But maybe I'm misinformed. The number 720-716-7300. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. Let's see. So, folks, if you have your own situation, certainly feel free, share, being mistreated on the job, suggestions. But we have folks, unemployment. Are you seeing unemployment? Is it just black females? Are you yourself? Has it impacted folks in your immediate non-white people that you are in contact with and such? And then the communal network. Oh, I'm checking my email, the whole program. Like, that's kind of 1A and 1B. I'm equally interested in both. Have you used some grouping of people classified as black to get a job, to get an interview, to get funds? If you're an entrepreneur, to get startup funds, you were able to go. This is the Black Entrepreneurial Network. I was able to go to them. I needed X $1,000 to get my business off the ground, and they helped me secure those funds. That counts for sure. Are you all aware of such an organization? Please share. Let us see. Folks who dialed in, let's start right here. Victim in New Jersey. Is there a Negro communal network? If I got it right, and you were trying to open your private trucking business, was there a local chapter of the Negro communal network? They helped you get your trucking business together and advised you on everything, the business licenses that you would need. If you needed financial assistance, they had loans or other ways to help you get money and or the current job. Did you go through the neighborhood Negro network? Triple N, put that on shirts. And for New Jersey, they could have 4 N's. The New Jersey Negro Network. But you went to them and they helped you get, employment. They told you about different jobs and such, so you can go out and be gainfully employed, privileged black male in the tri-state area, victim in New Jersey?
No, Gus, I haven't experienced that. A lot of, you guys went through the journey with me when I had my truck business, attempted trucking business, and I definitely didn't get any assistance, trial and error, everything I learned on my own, or other people classified as black who were truckers attempted to give some sort of advice. I started the trucking business during COVID, so I did apply for the PP loan and I was denied. Even with navigating getting my S corp. I wasn't knowledgeable, so I wouldn't get an S corp. I got an S corp, so that comes with certain kind of protections, but also, regardless if you make not, the state of New Jersey has a mandatory $500 fee, so it's quite expensive, I will say, to have an S corp, especially if you are not making the money that you would hope to make. You have to make that yearly payment. Unfortunately, I just this year, because I filed my last tax reforms. Tax paperwork for the trucking business. That was in 2022 when I shut it down. But unbeknownst to me, my tax guy put in the IRS papers that this is the last tax returns. But the state of New Jersey, they require other documents, and just, you have to go by their kind of like guidelines and rules when shutting down or dissolving your business. So, so I didn't know that I owed them $4,000. So I had to, go all over again, do the filing, and they dropped it down to $740 So I finally dissolved my trucking business this year when I thought I resolved that issue in 2022. And I was hit with $6,000 in Easy Pass fees and penalties. I wasn't driving a truck. I had a partner who was driving a truck, so they levied a lawsuit against me. The New York Port Authority, they're very aggressive when it comes to toll evasion. But I did have an Easy Pass, but the Easy Pass was so expensive, and I wasn't doing the where you can just put your credit card and they just take money automatically. I was paying as I go. But the Easy Pass system, you put money on the Easy Pass system, and they might not have collected the money from prior days. So you think you're up to date, but then so you put money on it, and they're taking money from days ahead. I mean, days behind, and you're always behind. So I ended up owing $6,000 in penalties, and they was going to take me to court. So, that's why I had to make sure that the business was dissolved. That's when I found out that the business wasn't dissolved. And, they settled for $2,900, and I paid it. So, again, everything that I learned about the trucking business was trial and error. There was no network of black people helping me navigate anything. I even kind of got squandered out of some money where people were saying that they can get you additional tax relief and tax refunds, and I paid a lady $1,000 and off with my money, So I took a lot of L's as it relates to starting the business. Real fast, I just wanted to give an update on something that happened to me at work before I start my workout. So I was people, it's very important to document, cover yourself. So I made a delivery at for a customer. The customer opens at 9 o'clock. I got there at 7. So I called my dispatcher. I said, hey, the customer's closed. Can you call the salesperson, and can they get somebody here early? This is on a Saturday. This is like equivalent to overtime. So, I only have 4 drops. I want to get home, early. And, so I want to get the day over. I don't want to waste 2 hours. So he called the salesperson. The salesperson said that they were contacting somebody. I looked at the building. I seen the lights on upstairs. So I figured that maybe the cleaning crew was there. So I went to a third door. The third door was open. So I enter the third door. The alarm goes. I called the dispatcher. I said, hey, inside of the property, I looked around. Nobody's there. I have access to the building, and the alarm is going off. Can you contact the salesperson so they can contact the customer and let them know that their alarm is going off and I don't have the code to shut it off? He gave me permission to leave the delivery, so I leave the delivery because I deliver food, so I put the dry goods where the dry goods go, and the refrigerated goods, I put it in the refrigerator. So I do that. As I'm doing that, the police come. I explain to the police officer, I'm working, the alarm is going off, I don't have the code. My company is and right now was contacting the customer so they can handle this and turn the code off. The police on the encounter went good. He just asked me if I had some form of ID. I have a company badge hanging from my belt, so I showed him that. That was enough for him to say, okay, that's enough identification that he needed. So he left me alone. I made the delivery. So the next day, the next work day, which was Monday, that was Saturday, I get a letter email that's asking and inquiring about that stop on Saturday. And it's an issue. So the customer is upset because they had to deal with the alarm company. And I was also informed that when I come back from the route on Monday to go see management because I'm going to be written up. So I'm confused because I followed the proper procedures. I called the dispatcher. He gave me permission to drop the goods. I have proof that I made these calls. The goods that I dropped, I made sure I took a picture, and I also dated it, the order number, the customer, and pictures of where everything went. So I have proof that I made the delivery. So I went to the dispatcher who gave me the permission. So I said, hey, what's going on? Like, why, what's the problem? You gave me permission to make this delivery. He says, well, you're supposed to wait. You wasn't supposed to leave. So I'm confused because I'm like, you gave me permission to drop it and go. So in my mind, I said, okay, I see what's going on here. So when I went to go see the higher-ups, the higher supervisor, I went to go see him. I told him what happened, and I was already prepared to not sign this write-up slip. I was gonna protest, and I was going to ask for a shop steward to be present because I followed all company procedures as it relates to delivering this stuff. So I let him know everything that happened from step to step to step to step, from beginning to end. I followed all procedures. He wrote what I said, and he was like, not a problem, you good, you can go. You know what I mean? Like, there was no write-up. But if I didn't document step by step everything that I did, the other dispatcher, he was willing to throw me metaphorically under the bus. So moving forward, even today, I made a delivery. I have access to this facility, but they changed the locks. So again, I called the dispatcher. I said, hey, can I drop this order in front of the gate? Because I don't have access to get in front of the gate. She says, do you normally do that? I said, yes, I do. But she was like, well, then just do it. I said, no, I'm not just doing anything. You guys made a hassle just this Saturday about me dropping a delivery, so I want to make sure I get permission. The dispatcher, not the one that gave me the permission on Saturday, informed me. She said, well, victim from New Jersey, that wasn't on you. That was on the dispatcher because he didn't properly inform the salesman of what he was doing. He's supposed to send out an email so the salesperson, when talking to the customer, knows what's going on. So it was negligence on his part. But I don't care about the negligence. I'm still calling for permission because I don't want something like that to happen and for me to be penalized for it. So that's my report for tonight.
Now, that applause obviously was not for him being jerked out of his money with the easy passes and all the rest of it for the trucking business. But for the second portion, bravo, like 2 thumbs up from Gus T. And even before I get to the document, which is A+, composure. He didn't say they're going to write you up and the dispatch is going, oh no, see there, victim, I didn't tell you to do it. Oh no, you didn't mess up now, but he didn't say, who do you think you're going to mess me up? Boy, I'll bust you upside down. You going to, he didn't say when they called him in there. Okay, victim in New Jersey, looks like you set off the alarm. What do you mean I set off the alarm? I didn't set off the alarm. I told the dispatch, these people up here, I done told you. He didn't say all that. In fact, he said, I expect they're going to write me up. He didn't say my response is going to be, I'm going to curse them out. I'm not going to sign. Composure, so important. I was going to say in the workplace, which is true, but even beyond. System of white supremacy, maintain your composure so you can think, make the best possible decisions when these types of events happen. So even really when things initially took place, he shows up 7 a.m. and trying to get things done so he can finish up with his day, and nobody's there. Contact, hey, what should we do? What should we do? Sees a light on. Looks like it might be people there already. Hey, we can drop it off and keep rolling. All of that. Alarm goes off. Enforcement officers come to, we get nigger knocked upside my head on a Saturday morning. Say Leroy trying to do some raping and looting. We calm, got my identification, and document. Constantly document. What am I authorized to do? Document the whole way through. Contact. He didn't just say, well, I'm gonna make up and just decide for myself. Nope. I'm going to contact the people in charge, who frequently are classified as white. I'm going to contact the folks in charge and see what they say is the appropriate course of action. Then, any problems come up. Hey, I called in to report. What should we do? This is what I was told to do, and I followed those orders. Brilliant. Didn't even have to get fresh for the write-up, because apparently there was no write-up. They say, yeah, you did the correct thing. Dispatch didn't probably someone classified as white, although it doesn't matter, but they didn't do the correct thing. Keep it moving. Then even the next time around we go back. What to do? Call the dispatch. Say, well, just do whatever you normally do. No. What is the proper procedure? Do whatever you know. What? What is that in the policy and procedure? Just do whatever you normally do. Come on. Brilliant. Follow policy and procedure, and then document. And the composure. Can't forget about that one. The initial report, I guess, so we got one person at least said, no, there was no New Jersey Negro network to aid in his entrepreneurial endeavor, financing, none of it. Man. Maybe that's just, you all, they got the poisoned water, so y'all got bigger concerns. Once we get our water situation corrected, they'll have the network in New Jersey. Other folks, the number 720-716-7300, the code 564943 pound, press star 61 if you would like to participate. I do want to say, because he mentioned the lack of Negro networking in New Jersey with his business, and he said he attempted to access the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP loans. The Los Angeles Lakers, Bron, Luka, the Los Angeles Lakers got $1 million. The Paycheck Protection Program. That franchise just sold, I believe, for like $10 billion with a B dollars, but they got $1 million of Paycheck Protection Program loans, PPP loans, during COVID. Jeannie Buss, white woman who owns it, he got that old patriarchal, sexist Bron James, but his boss, while he was with the Lakers, was a white woman, Jeannie Buss. She got the loan money. She said, whoa, what you mean? We didn't, I didn't know nothing about it. We're going to give it back. We're going to give it back. I don't even know how we got it. The Lakers, we miss you, Kobe. The Lakers got $1 million of PPP loans. Victim in New Jersey. It was supposed to be for small business. It was supposed to be. I'm ignorant. I can't even spell PPP. But I thought it was supposed to be for small businesses. Are the Los Angeles Lakers a small business? They just sold for $10 billion. Jesus. White women, man, white women, do it better. We miss you, Kobe. Star 61, other folks who dialed in. Let's see.
Can I be heard?
Non-Clemson dad, privileged black male, double O dimples, Mama C.
Highly privileged. Long time no speak. Speaking of PPP loans, My wife and I did apply for a PPP loan back during COVID for our dance business, and we got it, and we had to pay it back with interest compared to all these white businesses I was hearing where they got the loans and they just got forgiveness. I wonder what that's like. Moving on to the stories. I heard your early stories about black females' unemployment, and like you said, it never includes conversations with black males, as black males are privileged patriarchs. I started my own planning and engineering firm, aside from the one I started with another black male partner. This week, I finalized my registration as a disadvantaged business enterprise, which allowed me to potentially partner with bigger firms and help me hopefully begin the process of getting out of my current job. Let's see. When going through the interview, one of the things that the interviewer asked me was if I'm worried about AI taking over my job. I thought he was joking, but he was serious. So I answered the question, no. At least for my particular job and the kind of things that I do, AI is unable to produce the kind of stuff that I do in my job. It can only regurgitate it, and not very well. So the idea that AI is taking over a bunch of jobs, to me, at least right now, comes off as farcical. I'll talk more about that in a little while. Unfortunately, my mother did not tell me about all the racism she dealt with in the workplace as I was growing up. To make sure I do explain racism to my daughter as she gets older and whatever future children we have, I have continued to write stories of things that happened to me in the workplace. So as she gets older, I can simply just hand her over the documents. Today, we went to our baby birthing center monthly meetup. One of the black mothers there, she has a 1-year-old son. And recently she was let go from her job. We asked her if she was looking for a new job, and she emphatically said no. And now what's particularly interesting about this woman's story is that she worked in the IT field, which is very interesting because that's the one you hear about being replaced by, AI. And of course, this is a black woman we're talking about as well, too. And I asked her, did you get fired because AI is taking over your job? Initially, she said yes. And then I asked her a second question. Did a whole bunch of people get hired under the H-1B1 visa protocol as you were getting fired? She also said yes. It is stuff like this that leads me to believe that this idea of AI taking over jobs is, very, very farcical. Basically, this is just a way to fire American workers to hire cheaper workers through the H-1B1 process. And of course, not to speak ill of the H-1B1 people who come from different countries, but once you come to the United States on that visa, you are subservient to the company that hires you. If it does not work out for any reason, like you complained about safety in the workplace, racism, fill in the blank, they will fire you and send you back to your country. So basically, it's a form of indentured servitude. Let's see. All right, so I've been MIA for the last couple of weeks, almost the entirety of August, and it was because for the first couple of weeks in the month, I took a trip to go visit my father in Nigeria. I have not seen him since, I think, the middle of COVID. And I was there for about, 11 days. It was a wonderful time, but I got to meet a lot of relatives and family members as well, too. And I'm about to tell you one of the conversations that I had with my brother and a couple of cousins. I forget which day, but it doesn't matter. I ended up having a conversation with my brother and two cousins. One cousin talked about wanting to meet me for so long just to see who's taller. My cousin got to claim the undisputed title of tallest man in the family. Finishing in second place for height is not too bad. During our conversation, the other cousin talked about how I should make efforts to bring my skills to Nigeria. And then the rest of us laughed, knowing that I simply wasn't corrupt enough because I wouldn't simply take the money and leave an unfinished project. Then we had a conversation about being black in Nigeria versus the United States. My brother asked me about my being scared of coming to Nigeria, which admittedly I was. I heard of all the horror stories of people being hurt, killed, and kidnapped. Ironically, my brother said he worries for my safety living in the United States because of all the stories he hears about what happens to black males, from getting falsely accused to being killed by the police. My cousin, the tallest, said that if he ever was to visit the United States, he would only go for 2 or 3 days because he was so scared to stay any longer. Then when I went through multiple stories of things that happened to black males, from false allegations to mass shootings to police terrorism and murder, basically just reciting Dr. Tommy Curry's The Man Not book, honestly. He said he couldn't bear the idea of staying in the United States for barely more than a day. While I wondered how they managed to survive in Nigeria, they wonder how I managed to survive as a black male in America. We also talked about Nigerian scammers. Apparently, as my cousins tell me, Nigerian scammers do it to target white people for revenge or racism. At least that's what they told me. When I try to mail something through UPS to Nigeria, I constantly get warnings about Nigerian scammers. I don't have much experience with Nigerian scammers, but I do have experience with Indian scammers. That stereotype doesn't seem to hold to Indian people, though. Though I descend from Nigeria, I am culturally inept in the culture and customs. I can definitely say traffic is way more stressful in Nigeria. I almost missed checking into my return flight. The excessive bribe requests from the police and Nigerian customs agents is more than a bit jarring. Corruption is a whole lot more institutionalized in the United States, but the vestiges of colonial racism clearly show in Nigeria. Corruption in Nigeria is like the quote, "The only thing worse than a gangster is a wannabe." The gangster will kill you. The wannabe will kill you, your family, your friends, and your pet. The effects of colonial racism had defected and mutated the morals of Nigerian people. And I must admit, there's quite a bit of trash all over the place. It made me scared to walk in certain places. Nevertheless, I'm happy that I got to meet my relatives. More importantly, I appreciate every conversation I have with my dad. Sometimes he tries to have these conversations over the phone with me, and it gets a bit harder that way. But being next to him while having these conversations face to face made the conversation a whole lot more meaningful. Because I was able to hear him clearly, it helped me to understand his perspective and his life's journey. After going almost 2 weeks without seeing white people, when I stepped back onto the plane to leave Nigeria, because there were the white pilots and the white stewardesses, a sense of dread set in, or maybe returned. After returning from Nigeria, I left for Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for a work conference. While at the conference, a white woman who got hired as the transit agency's planning director, that position I didn't get or got an interview for, we were in a conference, and she asked the question, is there a transit planning 101 for beginner courses? Because in her previous job, she had no experience with federal programs. The very thing that the transit agency executive director says was a must when I inquired about the position. Interestingly, the man giving the presentation, I have done his transit planning courses and multi-day workshops. The presenter did not go into withering detail about the courses he offers. From the white woman's perspective, this puts her at a disadvantage in what training resources to ask for. Ah, well. The transit agency will have to figure out how to make her confident. Privileged black male that used to work at this privileged black male that I'm friends with who used to work at this transit agency said that I should make sure not to help her in any way. I will not, as I lack the credentials and qualifications. On my first trip back, my white Jewish student asked me how my trip was to the African safari. And with that, I'll mute my line.
I can't get up. Did he say safari? Did I hear? Maybe my ears aren't working. Did he say safari?
Yes, I said the word safari.
Wow, is that what the young white Jewish student said? Did he say safari too?
I wouldn't say young. She is in her mid-70s.
Oh, young. Lord. Dang. Did you go on safari? I mean, I guess they do have such a thing. Did you go on safari?
I went there for a funeral. My father's sister passed away. I never met the woman. The funeral itself was a 5-day celebration in itself. I saw no animals, unless you call black people animals.
Woo! Well, condolences to your family for the loss. That I do like that. A celebration. I do like that.
Sorry, one more thing, because my wife just said to add this part as well too. When talking to people about, especially white people in general, about me making the trip to the continent, I went to the country of Nigeria, and their retort or response would be, "Oh, you're going to Africa? That's like someone who's coming to South Carolina and someone says to them, "Oh, you're going to North America?"
It's all, it's niggers. I keep saying that. You would be left with the impression we get all that ADOS and, the H1 people's coming over here and they bring these, and even you, see, we got these no-count Nigerians that come over here, these pretend black people, and I am really left with the impression, niggers is niggers. Anyway, wow. Condolences again to the family. That is, man. Wow, that is such a robust share. I guess I'll ask. I thought that was such a brilliant idea. He said he's going to write down experiences, things that happened to him in the workplace, so he can share with his offspring. Just give it to them to read. Like, what was the inspiration for this idea? Have you seen this, anyone else doing this with their offspring?
I can't really say there was a particular inspiration for this idea, but, through the years, I've called these same stories into the cows. I already wrote them down. It's not that much of an effort to simply just give them to my offspring as they get older.
Wow. Love it. I cannot even. Wow. Love it. The Lakers got $1 million of PPP money. They said they returned it. And I think they could have got almost all of that. Like, they don't even have to pay it back. I think they would have had to pay back maybe 25% of it. So they would have got like $750,000 free and clear. Said they gave it back. He said that they got it, but they did have to end up paying all this money back. Like, man, I guess, I don't know. Victim in New Jersey, I didn't even get a nickel. So, I love it. He said he went through and he filed disadvantaged business enterprise. They could partner with larger organizations, might even be able to be an entrepreneur. We talked about that today. And working with other black people. Gee whiz, that's, man, bravo. Always working on constructive things. Like, wow, that is super impressive. We'll be praying, sending good energy. Hopefully we can see updates. Like, wow, that is super inspiring. Like, privileged black, we'll be able to say it like for real, privileged black male in South Carolina. Wow. He said, I thought importantly, pointing out the dynamics of what's happening in the workplace. They get rid of black female, right in line with what we talked about, right? Unemployed black females. Okay. Bringing in all of these folks on the H-1 visa program. Non-white people. They are not to blame. Anyone would want a job, for sure. The people who are to blame, usual suspects. Get rid of, and that's almost what they were talking about in the report. You get qualified. I don't think he said that the black female that they got rid of, I don't think he said she was incompetent, showed up late, said was sassy and talking wild, and I don't think he said any of that. It's exactly what I said. You can be totally competent, qualified, experienced, everything. No problem. Get out of here. My nephew, white, wants this job. Or we can bring in some different niggers. They were born in a different part of the world, and we can pay them like 70% less than what we pay you, which was 70% less than what we would pay a white person in this job. Lots of different ways that we could do it. The person to be upset with is not the non-white person on the H-1 visa that they got from a white person. Usual suspects. Very important. Man, I did not know whether to laugh or cry. He said he was, a little nervous. Even I think he said scared. I don't want to be inaccurate, but I think he might have said I was a little frightened, with human.
I was definitely scared. I even tried to convince my mother, my aunt, and my sister to come with me because, you know, my mother and I were born and raised there, and my sister is far more capable than I am in understanding the culture. Even though we both were born and raised here, she's just smarter than me when it comes to that kind of stuff. But my mother was not hearing it because she doesn't get along with my dad. My aunt didn't want to get in the middle of it. And my sister insisted that I take this trip because she felt that as a man, I needed to make that kind of trip, especially with taking that time to spend time with our father.
Oh, bravo to sister. I agree. Bravo. Good job. Good job. She said she's smart. And see, fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, metaphor. But he did say scared. Human, long way to go. And all of the racism in, how we've been taught to think about not Nigeria, all of Africa, Cairo to Cape Town 2 times. So he goes, he says, his relatives, oh my God, whew, no way I'm going to hang out in the U.S. I'm a tall, dark, handsome African. He played the sound clip like, Jesus Christ, I'm not even a Negro. I'm an African. Where's your paperwork at? You seen how they treat Obama? I can't believe it. He's saying, ooh, I'm afraid. Jesus Christ, come over Nigeria. I heard about Idi Amin. Ooh, with the global system of white supremacy. Being truthful, I would have been stopped in my tracks immediately, like, yeah, my bad. Sorry. He said, I felt the sense of dread as soon as I got on the plane. Like, man, I think it would have taken me about 30 seconds. Like, yeah, they talk about deporting y'all every day and alligator Alcatraz, and woo, you could be with Obama and you would still be in danger. Like, yep, my fault. Sorry about that. Not that we might be in danger here too, in Lagos or wherever we are, but we would for sure be in danger in South Carolina to San Francisco. Anywho, wow, what a hoot. Anywho, he said with the scammer, which I have heard, I do think that is a major aspect of racism. I think that's even come up on workplace racism before, that racist stereotype about Nigerian scammers. They certainly have white scammers, right? Yes, okay. Indian scammers and all the rest of it. The master scammers classified as white. But he said, man, the racism, colonialism, that's corrupted the morals of the Nigerians. Do what? Wait a minute. Wait. I could hear the sick white brothers and sisters. Wait a minute now. What in the Idi Amin? Like your cousins literally sit around and get a reputation for being the thieves of the planet, and that's our fault? What? If you could explain that one, sir.
Yes, I will explain it to the best of my ability, to my understanding. I might be wrong about this. Take whatever assertions you do and reject whatever you do. So, for example, obviously the Nigeria scammer thing, I imagine a lot of people have heard about that. I hear about it constantly. And when I think I said it a while ago, when I talk to my cousins, apparently they know some of these alleged Nigerian scammers, and when they talk to them, this is just a ploy to get at white people. So maybe white people are having quite a bit of experience with particularly Nigerian scammers and getting tricked out of their money. One of the examples that my cousin, the tallest, gave me was, for example, having a conversation where he knew someone, a black male in Nigeria, having a full-on conversation with a white person, what was amazing about the particular conversation was that the black male in Nigeria was able to talk with such a great American black accent that the white person thought that the black person was actually inside the United States, even though he was clearly on the African continent in Nigeria and was able to get money out of that. At least that was the story my cousin told me. Now, I'm not saying this stuff does or does happen. Clearly this kind of stuff clearly happens. Personally, I have more experience with Indian scammers personally. So, for example, we had a internet issue a little while back, and I ended up on the phone with a person with an Indian accent. He almost got me straight up, and Mama C saved me. But scammers come in all shapes and colors. But clearly, the only one that seems to stick is the idea of the Nigerian scammer. Also, this is what I mean by the morals of the country. So one of the things that happened was that there was a city I flew into, which was called Pawtucket, and then there was a city that's where my dad currently lives, and then there was a city, my father's hometown, called Ibogane, where he has another compound for his for the family, and that's where the funeral was held, right? And there was a highway connecting the two places, right? Imagine driving on an interstate highway and you're constantly stopping every or so mile for a police checkpoint, and the police are trying to solicit a bribe from you. Otherwise, they may or may not let you pass, or they'll tell you to pull over. I'm going to check your car. Now, usually the police inside the United States are not that blatant with it, right? Not that they can't get to that stage, but they're usually more subtle. They'll find, you got a broken headlight or you didn't use your turn signal, right? No, it's just, in Nigeria, get your butt to the side. I want money. Matter of fact, the moment I landed inside the country and I got off the plane, almost every customs immigration agent from the plane all the way to me exiting the airport tried to get a bribe out of me. Now, I imagine most people listening to this, especially ones who live here in the United States, could not imagine for example, a customs agent soliciting a bribe at an airport. An airport is just they don't play around at airports, right? But at least in a Nigerian one, it is a very scary place. And I was warned about it before I got there by my mother, so I knew how to respond. Basically, don't get mad, don't get angry, just smile and say no and keep it pushing. And it's that kind of stuff. Like, it's so blatant and open with the kind of corruption and stuff that they do. That's what I mean by wannabes. At least here in the United States, they try to cover it up, right? In Nigeria, not so much.
You said that's white people's fault?
Absolutely saying it's white people's fault. Everything that's evolved from when Nigeria got its independence back in, I believe, the 1960s, and then on, and even before that, absolutely is white people's fault. Because they inherited the systems that for example, the British people or the British Kingdom left after they got their supposed independence. And then also another good example of this is, my father. At one point, he almost got appointed to a position under one of the former presidents of Nigeria. And at the time, he was working on some kind of commission. And he, let's assume there were 6 other people on the commission. And at some point, my father got a very interesting text message that read, friend or foe. I'm not sure how you personally would respond to that, but my father, he simply did not respond because that's a weird text message. And apparently everyone else on that commission that he worked on got appointed under the president at the time, which was Goodluck Jonathan. And my father was the only person who didn't get appointed. Because apparently, and this was a conversation I had with my, my stepmother, who my father's married to right now. Apparently, there's something called blood sacrifices inside Nigeria. And this is not to say this kind of stuff does not happen in the United States. But when you start taking on these types of positions and stuff, basically you're potentially sacrificing someone in your family. Your firstborn son, some uncle somewhere, some father, somewhere else. And as far as my stepmother was concerned, she is happy he didn't take any of these positions because he could have easily lost me, and I'm in the United States, my brother who lives in Nigeria, and any untold number of family members, because these are how these people get down. They test your loyalty by killing family members.
Wow. Much obliged for the detail and answer. Much obliged. Wow, that is... Okay, that's... Wow, lots to think on. I always encourage traveling system of white supremacy. You can learn a lot. I will say, bravo, Mama C. You said, I think for a long time, just assume valedictorian, brains of the household. She's not so fast. Even while breastfeeding, I am the one, saved the day, almost lost our whole college investment and everything. Some scam, like, whoa. Slow it down. Right on to Mama C. And we did even get a dangerous white woman in there as well before I nab our other folks as well. The white woman who got the job that was denied our privileged black male. She comes. Do you think they have a transit course for dummies? A transit course? Do what? Do what? What does it mean to be white? I even heard brilliant advice. He said the black male mentor, privileged, said, do not help her. Heard that before. I don't hear that too often, but I have heard that recommended before. Non-white people victims of racism do as much as possible to not help white people. Whew. Very counter to our training as victims, but wow. Woo, love that one. Gotta repeat that. All right. Brilliant share. Condolences again to the family. Got great advice from his sister and Mama C and his mom too. She even told him what to do now when you go through customs. Just nope. Shut up. Don't say anything else. Great advice from the black females around non-Clemson dad. Privileged, patriarchal. Better keep a stick out to make sure he doesn't try and mess over you all or make you lose a job or anything like that. Let's see. Bay Area mom should be with us as well. If you have commentary to share, proceed.
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Greetings to you and everyone on the line. Thank you for taking my call. You said something about this. Maybe people ever lessen the age. Maybe say they're younger at work.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that. I usually try to tell the truth, only because they used to always say that you never ask a woman their age, so I didn't know why. So that's why I always just tell the truth about my age. So no. Workplace racism. So, gosh, why did the little boy in the room attack, so on Monday? Okay, so I talked to you Friday. I don't know if I told you that about the lady, the guy that identified as a lady, and that's the same guy that got mad about the Pride Parade and how he was angry that they didn't emphasize that parents keep their kids in school during this parade. She was very upset about that and very upset. I thought this was inclusive space. I thought it was everybody's welcome. Why are they taking their kids out on Pride Parade? Just real ridiculous. It's a lot of women that are in, because we have a lot of smoke shops and liquor stores in the neighborhood, and they own them and so forth, and they get a lot of the housing and stuff. So, they can also go to the schools. So they usually pull their kids back, and some other people. Some of us don't participate in the Pride Parade. It's not supposed to be about gay pride, but they've turned it into gay pride. So that's the same person. This person also thought she would be able to just woo this little boy and do all this cuddle up. They treat this little boy, he's turned. Also, I lied. He didn't turn 9 on Monday. He turned 8 on Monday. My bad, sorry. So he turned 8 on Monday. 140 pounds, as I stated. We are not, our school is not equipped to handle this child, but we have them. I know there's a money difference in children with disabilities versus the ones that don't have it. We have this child. As I stated, I'm the only one trained to deal with this child, and I'm not. They can't afford to have me just with this one child. They need my expertise in a lot of different spaces. I'm not being fancy or sassy. I just mean in general, the way I handle situations is different than the regular parents, so they need my style. I even heard somebody say something about they need so much more help. And, you know, somebody, see if we can find somebody like her, like me. But you're not going to find anybody like me. But you can do that. A white lady came on Tuesday. She's over the special education department, maybe. She has some connection to it. Probably because the Monday she attacked a couple of the para-educators, in particularly, he. The little boy attacked a couple of the para-educators on Monday and snatched the lady up so bad by the hair. The two ladies, and I was on with another kid, the one that's has his own office. So I'm with that child, but I went to go take the child to go heat up his food. And when we came back, I had to drop the food to go run and get this, because he got both of them by the head. So, and because they're not trained, they don't know how to get his hands out of his hair. I'm the only one with CPI training. There's somebody else that has CPI training, but they don't even work with kids, except for in after school. And maybe a couple of case managers, but they're not working with this child. Didn't have the nerve to ask me was I trained. Leave me alone. I don't have to be CPI trained. I'm only a para. So this boy, I got to keep him from attacking these two ladies. And one of the ladies, she's through an agency and has no health insurance. The rest of the people that are staff, they have, because the company, the school pays for their, they don't have to have any out-of-pocket costs. The school pays for everything, basically. But they only make $20-something an hour, these parents. They make a low 20. And then they have to endure somebody that's attacking them that doesn't talk. So his thing is he wants to go, once he gets changed, because I'm the one that changes them, unless this other BCBA that's black, she'll do it if she's there, but I'm basically the changer. And even though they watch me change him, they're not skilled enough to not call me to change this little boy. So after he goes out of that room, he does not want to come back in until it's time to go home. He encroaches on spaces that aren't designated for him. Say, for instance, PE. We intrude on PE. PE has to work around us because the little boy will just go into space and you can't stop him. It's a very awkward. Tuesday, the white lady came. She wanted, so mind you, I start wearing my headscarf by Monday because I'm not, you're not going to catch me slipping. So I start wearing my, is that a metaphor? You're not going to catch me unprepared. So I had my headscarf on, and every time I see him, I got my headscarf on because I'm not available for that. So, and he'll snatch your hair from the roots. He's not just pulling hair, he's going for the roots, like he's trying to pull you down. So, white lady come, he must have used the bathroom, and everybody's acting like they don't see the floor is wet. So I'm just asking, and then I notice people, because I'm in and out, maybe they don't think I know as much. I'm the only one trained to deal. I don't care how many hours I spend with him or don't spend with him. Altogether, I spend an hour with this boy. I have 2 shifts. I'm the one trained. I'm trained enough to know that this big old boy does not need to be cuddled like he's 6 months old. They just squish him and squeeze him, and they're all in his face. It's ridiculous. And I remember the teacher, the case manager, I guess she's, trying to make it seem like for the mom, I don't know what she was doing, but she's like, "Why don't you go down there and, sit with him?" I mean, I'll go down there and see what he's doing, but he's already engaged. He has something in his hand that he's playing with, and he's on the tablet, so there's no plan. He's not, what am I doing? But getting on his nerve. But I'm going to sit down here for a second, and then I get right back up because there's no need to be that close. So Monday's white lady's in here. I guess I've seen her before. I just don't know, but they watch, like I said, they always watch me. So she knows who I'm. So the little boy at some point had to get changed. So I said, "What's that on the floor?" What? What's that on the floor? It's like water. What is that? Maybe it's come from this. From that, it's dry. That's dry. What's that? That's wet. It's wet a lot of places. What's that water? Is that coming from him? I don't know. You know what? Yeah. So now I take her. We go to the bathroom, but the white lady said he had to go back to the room. I said, "Well, he's going to have you're going to get a behavior pretty quick because he's going to want to go outside." So, nope, don't listen. No, he's got to stay up here. Okay, white lady, no problem. I don't have a problem with whatever you say. So, man, this boy started tussling, fighting, and swinging and bit the lady, tried to bite the white lady that came, bit his little hair. Now this lady's still making us, make him not go. So he's going from stairway to stairway because he wants to go do his own thing. So now he's biting, pulling. Get on the ground. Start going for your legs to bite your legs. Pulling the hair. He done snatched his hair so many times by the hair. Now everybody has their hair down now. I'm the one that, mind you, I'm in a headscarf. Everybody got their hair down like this boy ain't playing. So, so by the time everybody got all their hair pulled out, that's a good idea that you have on that scarf. I bet it is. So I had to yell at his hair and say, "I need you to put your hair up. Put your hair up. Put that stuff in a ponytail. Tie it in or not. Do something." She got a safety clip in her ear, like a diaper safety clip, the big one. At some point, he's going to snatch that out her ear. So he's doing all this tussling for 20 minutes. He's doing all this tussling. So somebody came to relieve me. So they're not saying nothing to him. So I had to tell him, I was like, "Hey, the goal is for him to go back to class." And then he started going between his legs. I was like, "He's going between your legs. He's trying to bite you, so don't let him bite you." He was like, "Man, they wasn't going to say nothing." I know they wasn't going to say nothing, but I'm going to say something. And I also trained him how to release the little boy's hand out of his hair because he has long, mid-sized locks if he grabs his hair. So the gentleman, he's like 23, so he's like, okay, cool. So he's like, "All right, come on, man, just get up, let's go in the classroom." So he ended up getting up going in the classroom. Put his shoes on, go in the classroom. So I guess I'm like, yeah, he needs to be on him then. He can just make him listen. He needs milk. He needs a man. That's the gimmick. He needs a man to tell him what to do. That's not true. So somewhere along the line, as the gentleman is in there, maybe he did another shift, another switch, and came back in there. He was just sitting down in a chair. Man, that boy got up. That boy got up and started punching him in the face. He said he must have landed like 4 punches. And then he had to get up and get the little sparring pad and just start sparring with him and spinning it around. So the little boy got mad because he couldn't attack him anymore. So I don't know what happened, but that's how violent he is. So even the lady, the white lady that came to observe, she thought she was observing. No, you helping, girl. You're not observing. It's work. You're going to earn your check today. So she ended up putting her little hair in a ponytail. Because, everybody, long hair don't carry. If you want that hair, put it up. Now the guy that identifies as a woman, he puts his hair up. He used to swing that smoke-infested hair all over the place. Now he don't, puts that, or she, whatever, puts that stuff right on up in the ponytail. I'm going. Now they dread going to see this boy versus before they just knew they could do it. I got this. He's so cuddly. He's so gooey-goo. He's so bloopity-doop. He's so squishy. Like a squishmallow. Yeah, that squishmallow fight back. Got everybody scared. Not me. I just use it to the point to where we're not at a capacity to deal with him. That's how I look at it. He doesn't pull my hair. He did snatch my scarf off. Was it yesterday? No, day before yesterday. He did snatch my scarf off, and I don't care. That's why I got it on. So I just take it, put it back on my head, throw it about my business. this para that he said tussling with him for something. Me, the white lady. So I'm there to, because I know how to release, I know how to get him off the other people. So I try to, no, let me help you. So I try to release him. If he's got them by the hair or whatever, I can release the hair. He'll get 2 hands of hair and just hold it tight. So I released his hands from the lady's hair. Man, he laid up in her chest and bit her little nipple. And mind you, this girl has no medical. Didn't go to the doctor. This is how dangerous it is. And they have the lower bottoms, which are us, doing all this heavy work. The people that are on salary, they don't have to do this heavy work unless you're trying to fill in, because the gentleman, he didn't come to work today. So somebody else had to take his spot, which was maybe a teacher. Had to come, a special ed teacher had to come in and take this, take his space. So they all had to scramble together because they know it's a lot of pressure on us. They got us tea yesterday because we're in there getting chopped up and stuff. So the lady, here, come here, here, pick this. What tea do you want? What kind of tea do you want? Tea. And then somebody had made a comment. We were talking, how y'all doing? Yeah, I heard they got y'all some tea at least. For all those lickings and tickings y'all get, you got some tea. So, next, moving forward, yesterday, the goal was, okay, just let him do what he want to do until you get, so now they're going to get face shields. So we're going to get some kind of face guards. I don't know how that's going to, I got to see, I'll tell you when I get it. So we're going to get face guards, chest protectors, so no more nipples get bit. What else? Maybe something for your legs. Maybe make up something with some styrofoam and wrap it around our legs. Because he's not leaving. That's what I'm getting. That's the goal I'm getting. That's what I'm getting out of it. He's not leaving. We just got to be prepared to deal with him. So I told one of the vice principal of special ed, I told her, hey, none of us can deal with him. You are not equipped. This school cannot accommodate this child's needs. He came from a Montessori school that closed in May, at the end of May. And they were just doing what they wanted. And per reading his paperwork, I didn't read it, but someone read it to me. He was just in a room, some kind of maybe sensory room all day. And he would get changed allegedly every hour. And this is when his behaviors occurred. Anytime you try to make him do stuff he don't want to do, that's when you get a behavior. So he just want to be left alone to do his own thing, and his diet is insane. He's choking now. So now, this week, he's choking. Because he's not chewing his food, he's choking. He just takes his food, swish it in his mouth, that old pork bacon. He eats that bacon up. He's choking on the bacon because he doesn't chew it, but he loves that bacon. The Rice Krispie treats, the fruit by the foot. He wants, the lady trying to give him half of the fruit by the foot. Man, he looked at her like, man, if you don't give me that other half, I'll take your whole head off. Well, she had to give him the whole other half because he wanted all his fruit, but he wanted his whole foot. And he just crushed that in his mouth and just chew it, swallow it. He gets 3 at max, little waters, a little 6-ounce waters, a little toddler waters. And all this cheese, yogurt, those oatmeal cookies, the Little Debbie oatmeal cookies with the frosting inside, he just pushed that in his mouth. What else is in there? Chips, pretzels. Oh, those little muffins. The little muffins, who is it by? Is it Edmonds? They got the little muffins. There's 5 muffins. So he'll have 2 packs of those. And he just pushed them in his mouth. It's like a container. And he doesn't chew, so I had to tell the BCBA because he's not chewing his food. And they get so sick of me, not the BCBA. They get sick of me reporting to the BCBA, but in real life, I report to the BCBA because my RBT number is, I keep it active and it's up under her. And I work with her anyway. So I tell her a lot because I must. And even yesterday, we had to accommodate him, whatever he wanted to do. So when it was time for me to change him, like maybe 11 o'clock-ish, 11:30, 11:25, I went to change him. He never went back upstairs. And fun fact, his tablet died today. So his tablet, mom is in charge charging his tablet. Oh, mom didn't try. And he snatched his mom up, too. He'll snatch that mama up, too. Snatch her up by her hair, whoop her up, too. So anybody could get it. So his tablet, his mom is saying, well, his tablet is going to die, so I'm going to leave mine. It don't have none of the games and stuff on it, but I don't want it broke because yesterday his tablet came back. It was chipped. I don't know what happened, but, you know, it was chipped, the glass and stuff. You know, I got insurance on it, but, you know, I don't want mine broke. Now, he has 5. He might have brought one today, one somewhere else. I don't know what's going on, but the other one is broke. So she left hers. That's not protected. It's hers and all this stuff. I said, well, you might want to take yours because if she's basically saying he can use it, but he can't take it downstairs. He can't travel with it. But once I change him, he's traveling. I came all the way out the room because I hear her talking. And you're talking to the guy, the lady, the one male that identifies as a lady, and the lady got bit on her little nipple. So, no. Let me tell you, ma'am. Take your iPad home. Either have your sister or whoever bring him his other iPad or come get him. Because nobody's going to be responsible for this, your iPad. No, we can't keep him. There's no way he's going to go downstairs without an iPad. And then it creates a behavior for the other young man that can't have technology anymore. So he literally comes out. I have to keep him so busy and distracted. So what I do for the little gentleman that can't have technology anymore, I allow him to go early in the morning. We go read some books on his on the iPad in a particular room, in a particular classroom. And then at the end of the day, he's allowed that same access just to keep it calm. And he does work in the middle of it, too, so that's how I get him to do some work, too. So it's tricky. We'll see tomorrow because there's no school tomorrow, but we're going to have a meeting about this young man, I heard. I want to see what they're going to say. I want to know what you're going to do because we can't accommodate him, and it's not logical to just have this guy. We're just doing what he says all day while he's at school. That doesn't make any sense. So thank you for taking my call, and I will mute my line.
Well, that is, wow. Much obliged, Bay Area mom. He was 7, now 8. 140 pounds at 7. Fruit by the foot. Not something I generally snack on, just being truthful. But it's one of those fruit snacky type things, like I guess the gummy bears and all that other stuff. I'm just looking at the ingredients. Woo. Berry tie-dye ingredients. Woo. I guess that's one of the types of fruit by the foot, or flavors, I guess. Berry tie-dye. What is the number 1 ingredient? Sugar. And then it's got the corn syrup in it as well. You don't even see that too often where they have both sugar and corn syrup, like sugar and extra sugar. Contains 2% or less of, I actually don't see any fruit in, oh, I guess it's got pear puree. There we go. Now it's called berry tie-dye, but it's no berry in it. It's just pear puree. And then they got red number 40, blue number 1. And all the ingredients are pretty much the same for all the other flavors. Strawberry tie-dye. What's the number 1 ingredient for that one? Sugar. And then it's got the corn syrup in it. Like, they should just like say, look here, young fella, we're putting you on the diabetes program. So here you go. Just eat it. Did you hear that? They set up and stuff you with bacon, fruit by the foot, even the name of it, like Jesus Christ. And they said they tried to give him 1 or half. He said that was it. We're gonna give him half, You don't chew your food well. And he's about to have a whole episode. Here, just take the whole thing. And they say that one roll is 9 added grams of sugar. 17% of your daily allowance is 121-gram roll. And it sounds like I got to eat the whole thing, maybe 3-4 of them. And then get to my bacon, Rice Krispies, yogurt. Like I said, we're in California in peak summer. No fruit. Peak summer. We got fruit by the foot and bacon. Whew. When you play around with sex, there you go. And then I've seen that repeatedly. Like, wait a minute. Like, it cannot be. You have children who 7 years old and 140 pounds. It cannot be we just let them eat whatever they want and as much as they want, and we have the worst food. Like, it would maybe be different. He said, I'm going to eat as many strawberries as I want. Even that, like, I don't know if you need to eat the whole barrel now. Come on. But it would be a little different than fruit by the foot with all that added sugar and color and nonsense, corn syrup. It'd be a little bit bacon. I'm going to stuff all the... He was, man, I'm going to chow down on that watermelon. It would be a little different. I've seen this repeatedly with children that have really major behavioral issues. And they just... the worst of the worst food and tons of it. And then they end up acting out over the food and they eat all day like cheese. She said just the worst of the worst. You can be all constipated and then have all those sugar highs and then I'm about to go into my sugar coma. And you're so, man, what a disgrace. Beyond all of that, importantly, she said that they're supposed to do the pride thing, and I guess some of the parents said, you're not doing no gender confusion and all that. And the same fella getting mad. She said that they got all the liquor stores and smoke shops in the area, and the people that own these businesses, their children go to the school. I said, that's what, yes, my children go to the school that's right between the liquor store and the weed dispensary, the gummy weed. Let's see. The young fella who eats bacon and cheese and fruit by the foot, and yogurt all day long, 140 pounds, now 8, on his way to 150 pounds, we're sure, acts out and is snatching people's hair and all the rest of it. I mean, ooh, that sounds so painful, like, Jesus. She says, immediately using logic, I put on my headscarf immediately. Brilliant, using her brain computer in the workplace. I say it all the time. We are not looking to be cute. I say that even if you were working at a Fortune 500 company, she's, working at a school, children are acting out and such. Even if you're working at a school where children don't act out and such, it might be something to worry about. Sometimes they get a little wacky in art class and, let the paint fly, have food fights in the cafeteria or what have you. But I'm not on my job. This is not I'm waiting to do my glamour shoot at lunch. Not at all. You very much want to match your wardrobe, hairstyling, all of that to correctly match what is my work environment. What am I going to encounter? You do not want to be, I'm all dolled up and wearing something cute and all this. And she said he's snatching people's hair out at the root. Whoa. Well, it's really, especially if I'm about looking cute, like, whoa. We getting ready for Labor Day weekend, go outside, look cute at the beach and all the rest of it, and I got a ball, so whoa. I'm about to go show out. We might go to San Francisco. I don't even know, but no. scarf. Boom. She said other people said, oh, that's a good idea. Now she said that was some. She said even some, she had to, hey, ponytail, what's wrong with you? Put that up, tie it up, put it in something. Come on now. Where is your brain computer? We're not on the job. She said even the fella that she continues to misgender, we heard you. She said the fella, he, or she, but was slinging her hair around until all this, and whoa, got to put my hair up too, get me too. Use logic. We're not on the job to look cute. Really, if you want to look cute, hey, I'm going to make sure that I stay looking cute. Tie my hair up. I even said before, hey, they see one hairstyle on the job. I said that's for everybody. They see one hairstyle. The attention should be on the quality of my work, not my wardrobe. Not here to talk about my jewelry, my fingernails, my shoes. None of that. None of that. Oh, your hair looks so good. About that raise. That's what it was. But talking about my hair is not going to get me a raise. But using her brain computer and then encouraging others to do the same. Tie up your hair. Dress appropriately. Now, I'm all about safety in the workplace, safety when working with children. Absolutely. Got a lot of non-white people who work at this school. A lot of non-white students, too, who want to be safe. But I'm for it. A child, even though he is very large and having these violent outbursts. If I'm 7, 8, 10, and the people, teachers who work with me, they come in and they looked like armed federal troops in D.C. with face shields, body armor. I don't know. I thought she was even going to say the batons. We got my Negro knocker too. Like, you grab my hair again. Wow. Like, I don't know. Like, man, that's the academic environment. Like, I already got to, growl and, give me my bacon. Give me all my fruit. What is it? Fruit by the foot. Yeah, give me all my fruit by the foot. I'll bite you if you don't get, and they got on the face shield, like, none of it sounds like, this is going to be working out correctly for this child. Like, we got a plan. We don't have nothing. Just let him do whatever he wants. Like, what in the world? And it sounds like, poor thing with the children having children, same thing. She said he is abusive with her as well. And she's got all these screens and it's just screen. It's got to be like massive conversations before we get to the bedroom. The plan can't just be to get a screen and put it in front of a child. I mean, that can't be the plan. Or get 5 screens, big ones, small ones, come like that. That cannot be the plan. Bad food and big screens. Man, got to make better decisions, man. Just better decisions. Let's see. The fruit. Let's see. Trying to miss one. Oh, and she said with the other little fella with the mom, where she was going to let him have her iPad or what have you. Again, great job using logic to avert catastrophe, because I'm sure that would have been a fit of some sort, and then them trying to be responsible for all this technology, even the other children, because apparently they got lots of children there who are addicted to screens, and it just sounded like another non-white male child who, I guess he's been barred from technology or screen time or whatever, and she's trying to figure out something where they can go and do a little read time together so you can keep him calm and get reading. Bravo. That's what I mean, where she was saying, they get all of the low-level staff who don't have medical benefits, which is so disgusting. They get all of them to go and do all this grueling, dangerous work, and they aren't making very much money and then don't have benefits. Like, come on, that is total. That seems like another word would be exploiting a lot of non-white people to put them in those types of positions where they're not going to have benefits, they're not going to have medical. If you have some sort of serious injury, it might be a double whammy, because then you miss time from work, maybe you get compensation, maybe you don't, and you might have to pay out of pocket if you have to go, to the hospital. If it's something, even if it's something minor, not serious, like you have to go for, just a little short visit, and they just say, oh, that's just a bruise, or, take a day off and get an ice pack, rest a little bit, you'll be fine. That sort of, even still, you might have to pay out of pocket for that. They even say take, few aspirin or whatever the case may be, pay out of pocket, much less if it's something more than that, which it easily could be in this situation. Sound like getting your hair pulled out and all, like, Jesus Christ. And not having a plan. That's another thing too, like work environments where there's a danger and there is no plan. We heard that a couple times. Said that with the delivery where the police showed up and the alarm went off, and they said, hey, next time, just do whatever you want. Do whatever you normally do. Yeah, whatever. And then with a child who's acting out and committing violence and everything, abusing staff, just let him do whatever he wants. That's not a plan. That is setting up for failure, and that happens to non-white people in the workplace all the time. And then it happens to non-white people in the workplace who have no medical benefits. Wear the scarf. Bay Area mom, tie up the hair. Very smart. Let's see. Number 720-716-7300. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. I'll get in my PSA. I guess it's Labor Day weekend. I reckon. I don't, celebrate holidays and such, but I guess, Monday's Labor Day, so Labor Day weekend, end of summer bash. Lots of folks are returning to school or getting ready for the school year to start, or whatever. End of summer, hello fall. If there is going to be any sort of celebration tomorrow, I guess that's Friday, anyway, through Sunday, Monday even, use logic. Be cautious. I would not want to be in areas with large crowds. I wouldn't want to be around a whole lot of people who are intoxicated. I think this weekend is still a part of the 100 most dangerous days of summer, where they talk about all kinds of accidents on the roadways and all the rest of it. Lots of that involving people who are intoxicated, under the influence, and behind the wheel. So I would be very mindful, especially if you have younger drivers, if you yourself just started driving, or you're, teen driver, early 20s driver. Be very mindful of that. If you feel like you got to go out and celebrate and whoopee-doo, pick one spot. I would encourage one location. Stay there. That way, if you're going to do it overnight or what have you, or you should just make it overnight. That way, you don't have to leave midnight, 2 o'clock in the morning or something. Maybe you're under the influence, maybe you're not. It doesn't matter. 2 o'clock in the morning, other people on the road might be under the influence, and especially this weekend, and they'll have sobriety checkpoints. We're still under the system of white supremacy racism. Dr. Cambon for years pointed out that many of those instances that they talk about in Nigeria, did you see what happened? Brother George Floyd, did you see what happened? Trayvon Martin, did you see what happened? And on and on and on. Many, not all, but many of those instances, especially if it's some sort of vehicle situation, they happen later in the evening. We've been reading about that in Mary Kay. They say, oh, Lord, after 1 a.m., ooh-wee. Bars closing, folks are liquored up, and it's especially bad on holiday weekends like Labor Day. So I would, if you gotta do any of that stuff, I would be very intelligent about your location. I wouldn't want to be around a lot of intoxicated white people. Really, I wouldn't want to be around a lot of intoxicated non-white people either. Can be dangerous, fatal even. And not on the road. Can't emphasize that one enough. Not on the road. Safety first. Make sure we didn't miss any folks' commentary to share. We'll be here Friday, wrapping it all up. Mary Kay, the book Greg Olson's If Loving You Is Wrong, about child raping Mary Kay and Seattle legend. But we'll finish that all up tomorrow, normal time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then Saturday, compensatory call-in, catch up on the news from the week. Tomorrow, 20 years from Hurricane Katrina, so we'll for sure have a word about that on Saturday, as well as other news and events from this week. The shooting in Minnesota from the transgender white female Robin Westman said in the video that she, air quotes, was making white supremacist gestures on one of the social media uploads where I guess she was talking about some of the motivations for why she carried out the shooting in Minneapolis this past week, killed 2 white children. But yes, we'll discuss that and other events from this week on Saturday, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, compensatory call-in. That's it. Make sure didn't miss any folks' commentary. Didn't want to get in. We'll assume folks are good for the week. Hopefully, folks getting through the end of summer 2025 logically, safely, constructively, staying hydrated, I guess, as well. So they're having weather events in many places across the U.S., perhaps even beyond. I have to check global news, see if anywhere else is struggling with superheat this week. Anywho, here, 24 hours, Mary Kay, sobriety would be best. That would be another one to share with your offspring if they are younger drivers, so that they can be cognizant. It is especially dangerous for people in that age bracket, the younger folks this here weekend, not all of it their own doing. There are other folks on the road, some of them young, some of them not, and still dangerous. But definitely, since I still got Milwaukee on the brain, you do not want to be out the drag racing because they got to cut a fool. So much of that to go out and deliberately be dangerous, and that's folks of all ages. So definitely remind, if you have young drivers, like, whew, be safe on the road. Be mindful that there are many people who are not driving safely on the road, and many of them will be intoxicated over the next 5-6 days, and those sobriety checkpoints. So it is a lot to be aware of if you're going to be out and about this here weekend. Maybe even good reason to not be out, especially late in the evening if you are not white. Creator, we ask that you remind us to not help white people as best we can. Stop saying not all white people are racist. Stop name calling people classified as black, even the Nigerian scammers. Stop gossiping. Stop producing throwaway offspring to be raped by Mary Kay and or stuffed with bacon and fruit by the foot. It has been time. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cow signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. No problem. You're a victim. Man, I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Mm-hmm. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.